Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And this episode, it's a very special episode because of the footy. But no, that's not the real reason why it's a special episode. It's a special episode because it's brought to you by none other than the Rugby League Guru, the great Gurino. And you may be saying as you look at me, Beak, you are looking hot today. And I say, thanks, bro. I do look hot. And you know why I look hot? Because I am wearing the great Rugby League Guru shirt. That is right. You go to rugbyleagueguru.com.au. You can grab yourself a Rugby League Guru shirt. If you enjoy this show, he is a part of this show. So you want to support the great Gurino. And as I said, if it can make me look hot, it can make anyone look hot. But I've got the great Gurino here. How you going, brother?
Good, mate. You're pulling it off.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
It's fantastic.
I'm, feeling good, looking good, podcast good. They always say that. They always say that.
Always said it. Yeah, if you want to buy a T-shirt or a hat, rugbyleagueguru.com.au. We got the print on the back as well there. Looks like better from the back, Kempy, just quietly.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
And then I turned around and she was like, ooh. That had my nose literally nearly poked her eye out. But it's about my personality. So rugbyleagueguru.com.au. Grab a shirt, guys. They're great shirts. Comfy, easy to wear. I'll be wearing mine to the gym later. And it supports the great Gurino. So rugbyleagueguru.com.au. It's the best way to support Guru. And it's easy. Boom. You just order it. You're going to get it in a couple of days,
yep.
I'd assume. So it's not pre-sale. It's just they're all good to go.
Got them all ready to go.
All ready to go. So hats, shirts, rugbyleagueguru.com.au. If you've enjoyed hours and hours of podcast all year long and you want to support Guru, this is the best way to do it. But it's also brought to you by Budgie Smuggler. On the hunt for Australia's most ordinary rig. Entries close October 5th, and the top 10 will be flown to Sydney to partake in a pageant hosted by Hello Sport, the great Hello Sport. $10,000 is up for grabs, half for you and half for your chosen sports club or charity. You'll also get a billboard in your hometown. Budgie Smuggler, Australia's most ordinary rig. Now, I know a lot of you fellas and girls, you got WhatsApp groups and all that carry on. I don't know what you kids get onto these days. I still write letters to my friends, people. I still write letters to my friends. I'm old school. But you're all on WhatsApp. Let your mates know. If you've got a mate with an ordinary rig, get him in. You could win 10K, and 5K of that could be for an end of season or an end of year trip. So budgiesmuggler.com.au. Entries close October 5th. It's going to be an incredible day. Hello Sport are hosting it. I've seen videos from last year. It looked like an amazing day. Everyone having fun, great time. And it's just all about promoting. If you're a big fella, a little fella, it doesn't matter. As long as you're happy and healthy, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be all shredded out of your mind. You don't have to be. As long as you're happy and healthy. That's what it's promoting, which is a great cause, guys. So budgiesmuggler.com.au. And also, if you're looking for some budgies, it's getting a bit warmer, baby, on the weekend. I thought about taking my kid off, seriously. Down the park, I was like, I might get my fucking shirt off, show them what I'm about.
What a show for Rosebery.
Oh, yeah. Then I thought, you haven't been in the gym a while, so don't do that. Now, that might have been the greatest weekend of rugby league I've ever fucking seen. Guru, speak to me.
I was about to state it as the greatest weekend of rugby league.
I don't fucking care if it's hyperbolic. I don't care if you want to 1986 fucking September 2nd. I don't care if that was the greatest. This was one of the greatest rugby league weekends I've ever seen. And I just want to say, and I'm being serious here, thank you to the players. That was incredible. I was enthralled the whole weekend, and whatever they're getting paid, they should get paid more because the damage that they put their bodies through over the weekend. I just want to say, honestly, thank you to the players. It was absolutely incredible. You gave me a moment I'll remember forever. I'll always remember the Rabbitohs Roosters game, the Cowboys Sharkies, Storm Raiders upsetting the Storm, the Prince Cleary coming back. So thank you to the players. It was absolutely incredible. And I would argue, like, even me playing it, I look at that and I go, surely the game wasn't that hectic when I was playing it. Like, it feels like it's getting, every year, it just gets more brutal, faster, stronger, all that. Guru, speak to me.
Yeah, I sat down, went through my notes last night and got to that, opened the first game, and Parramatta Penrith feels like it was 3 months ago.
Seriously.
Like, those last 3 games were unbelievable. And that South Roosters, I saw a post, I'm not sure where it was, somewhere on the internet last night, saying that South Roosters game was like when you used to take a sick day off school and the craziest shit ever would happen on that day. You read about it when you got back and you just wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's like what that game was. It was like the two teams forgot that their seasons were on the line.
It was wild. It was absolutely chaos. It was chaos. It was one of those games that as it's unfolding, you think, oh, it'll happen for about 20 minutes. Okay, one half of footy will be like this. Okay, 60 minutes. And then by the time you finish it, you're like, oh, this game's going to be in documentaries for the next 50 years. Like, this will be something that they show at awards nights. You'll tell your kids about, the day that there were seven sin bins. The day that there was 7 sin bins. And it just happened to be against the Rabbitohs and Roosters, the biggest rivalry in the game. It was an amazing weekend of footy. So thank you to the players, the coaching staff, the families, everyone involved that helped put this on. Thank you. It was absolutely incredible. But there is only 6 teams left. Who would have thought that the 2 teams to leave the top 8 or leave the 8 would be Storm and Roosters? Storm and Roosters. It's honestly mind-blowing, but it shows you, we've been speaking about it for quite a while now, the standard of this top 8 is some of the best standard we've ever seen.
Mate, it's the first time since 2001 that the Storm and the Roosters have both been out of the comp by week 2 of the finals. That's 20 years of football that both these 2 teams have, at worst, one of them has featured in week 2.
And the thing is, like, we kind of throw Penrith with them now, but Penrith are newly a dominant side. They're only 2 to 3, you know what I mean? Like, I think that you kind of go, okay, Storm and Roosters are out, so there's still a heavyweight left in, and it's Penrith, the obvious one that is the favourite. But we have to remember, Penrith have only been around doing this for like 3 years. For the last 15 years before that, or 10, 12 years, whatever the number is, they were a team that came in and out of the 8. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And, you might be looking at, the Cronulla Sharks, the Cowboys, one of these 2 new teams to the top 8. They might be this side for the next 5 or 6 years too.
Yeah. I look, the Cowboys...
There's nothing standing in either of their ways.
No, they got good young rosters. They got good solid backing from a club. Absolutely just... My mouth was hanging open. Like, I was watching the Cowboys Sharks game, just like, I couldn't take my eyes away from it. And my mouth was just hanging open the whole time going, surely someone breaks here.
I was saying to Matty before off mic that, like, I obviously don't go for a team. I was going with the Sharkies because I said Sharks Penrith Grand Final a few weeks ago. I don't know how you fuckers go for a football team. I was a fucking wreck watching that game. And yeah. I had nothing in the ringer for it. It was a few times. I said to Matty, I stood up a few times. I'm like, why am I standing up in my lounge room?
It's just...
Sit down, you fucking clown.
Oh, mate. It was... like, I remember there was one time period where like my bed has a TV mounted on the wall, and so like my missus, she's on the other side of the bed, so when she's walking in and out of the bedroom, she ducks the TV. But then as she walked past one time, I went like that, oh, and she went, oh shit, and I was like, oh sorry, there's something big. We're in extra time here. We're in extra time and no one's scoring. So yeah, look, I know I said it, but thank you so much to the players. That was absolutely amazing. I don't know how they do it.
How gold is a week off going to be now? Like,
it used to be considered a bad thing. Now it's like, bruh, you need that shit.
Imagine this. Like, Sharks went 93 minutes the other night. Souths went fucking 12 rounds with the Roosters yesterday. That was insane. They've now got to get up and play each other next week to get the opportunity to play a fresh Penrith Panthers. Who obviously a week off doesn't negatively affect them in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be scary. And with the 2 teams that have the home finals now, talk about it more, but fuck, they're going to be hard to beat.
Oh, mate, like the Cowboys have just set themselves up for... It's there. It's right there for the taking. They're on arguably the softer side of the draw, only because Penrith's on the other side. Yeah. If you take Penrith out of the other side, it's an equal thing. It's just because Penrith is so dominant, and not because that side is a crazy side still.
It's interesting how the sides have ended up though, because you've obviously got like Penrith, Cronulla, South Sydney, and like I would argue that all those teams have $1 million player in each of those teams. Whereas I look on the other side of the park, and the other 3, Canberra, Parramatta, Cowboys, they're just really good 17s. They don't have like one out-and-out $1 million player.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it has ended up. It's going to be a great few weeks.
And you know, as we said, like I know you were a little bit hesitant with the Raiders, not heaps at all, but I really think anyone can win it.
Yeah, I still don't think the Raiders can go all the way, but mate, if I was Parramatta, I think I would have rather played Melbourne this week.
I reckon I'd rather play Raiders. I reckon the Melbourne would fucking find a way to beat the Eels. I don't know what it is.
I thought they'd find a way to beat the Raiders, but...
The Raiders have the wood on the Storm, though.
Yeah, I also think, though, that Melbourne are... At least you know what to prepare for with Melbourne. This Raiders team, how the fuck would you prepare to deal with
Tarpon there. Jesus, honestly.
It's all good and well. You say you got to stop their middles. Sweet. Good luck.
But like so because like the Raiders have got Rabbitohs next week.
No, they've got Parramatta.
Para next week.
Yeah.
Like we know how inconsistent the Eels are. So they go, boom, they beat the Eels. You tell me the Raiders don't have a chance to beat the Cowboys?
Oh, I think it'll be very tough going up to North Queensland.
Oh no, look, to be clear, it's very tough and it's unlikely. But I think that a couple of weeks ago, people were saying Raiders are making the numbers up. Like there were a lot of people like, bro, they're getting bounced first week, no doubt. It's just amazing. It's so good that any team on their day in my opinion, has a chance. Don't get me wrong, you've still got favourites. Penrith are an out and out favourite. Then I would probably put the Cowboys next to them because they've managed to pull it back to the North Queensland. But after that, maybe the Sharks. But then the Rabbitohs got that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I personally, I had the Sharks beating the Cowboys the other night, and I think the winner of that game was going to the grand final.
Because of the...
Well, so that's about the Raiders, though. I was speaking to one of their forwards last night, and they're confident.
Well, that's like in the press conference, like Ricky basically said, like, no one gives us a chance. We've got nothing to lose.
And I think they're well aware, same thing that we've spoken about, that if they just would have pulled their shit together for once or twice in the first 6 weeks... It's a complete. They know how good they are, and they know that they can stick it to any team in this competition.
Mate, it's they have the it suits them because this is the underdog mentality. You know, this is the Ricky Stewart chip on your shoulder, circle the wagons, boys. Everyone hates us. Everyone's against us. It's fuel for fire. They're the underdogs that no one was talking about. They scraped into the 8 because the Broncos were so poor. Like to think that the Broncos, like what I am happy for. From a rugby league perspective is that the Raiders proved that they absolutely deserved to be in that 8, and the Broncos in that first week would have got beaten handedly. So it's like, although it's sad that the Broncos fell out the way they did, at the end of the day, the Raiders deserve to be there. They've proven it, and it sounds like an obvious statement. Well, of course they deserve to be there because they made it. But it's like, yeah, but I don't think anyone would have said they need something that's never happened before to happen for them to be there. And
we'll talk about it later, but credit to Ricky Stewart. He's had to make some tough decisions this year when it comes to Jared Croker. They lost Josh Hodgson. He's made a tough decision with Chance as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're 2 wins away from a grand final now. Yeah. And they're the team you don't want. Out of the 4 teams that are playing next weekend, I think they're the team you don't want to play because I think they're the hardest to prepare for.
And they're probably the freshest. When you think about it.
Mate, as we said last week, I think the way that they came into finals, smashing teams and putting on big scores, I think it would have been awful for the 7 other teams. I think it's perfect for the Raiders.
Yeah, it suited them. Again, it was that crazy confidence of nothing to lose kind of stuff. Anyway, we'll get to it when we get to the game. But yeah, look, it was absolutely incredible. What an incredible weekend of footy. We'll talk about it quickly before we get to the games. The Manly saga. Look, it seems to have kind of settled to a degree, but there's more articles basically coming out saying that, it's not as, settled as we may think. DCE has come out and done an interview with Channel 9. It was a great interview. Basically, again, please, guys, go and watch it to get the exact context of what DCE is saying. It's on their Instagram, and I think it's also on YouTube. But he was kind of saying, look, there's no issue between me and Jake. He said when they were like, well, what about when you lost 7 in a row? And DC was kind of like, well, naturally there's going to be tension and, we've lost 7 in a row. So I guess he kind of, he cleared the air for sure, but I guess he kind of also, I can understand where DC is coming from because what he's saying is obvious. We lost 7 in a row. Of course there is going to be tension. But I think with all the other smoke around it, I guess it does kind of confirm that there's a lot going on at that club that it just isn't settled yet. In regards to, they asked him, do they think Desi will be the coach long term? He said, look, I'd be surprised if he's not the coach, I think after next year. But he also said, like, it's not really my decision. Again, this is all paraphrasing, guys. So look, there is again no denying now that there is big issues at that club. Do you think that this is going to continue to haunt them, or do you think they're going to sort it out and get a good preseason in?
Oh, fuck. If they manage to sort this out, credit to them. Because it just, I don't know, there's just so much noise coming out of there. And, I only saw bits and pieces of that DCE interview, but it wasn't overly confident.
Yeah.
To me, and what
he
said.
handled it great.
He handled it very well, as
good as he could.
always does. Yeah. Credit to him.
Without, like, outright just lying and going, nah, no issue, no dramas, whatever. He was pretty honest.
But I think you could tell as well, like, he was obviously picking his words.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a hard thing for him because he can't win. Like, if he does what he did, which is handle it really well, he'll have blokes like us saying, well, he's picking his words, and he's like, well, fuck. Like,
yeah, he can't win.
He can't win. But I think he's handling it the best he possibly can.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you are doing one of those interviews, there's a reason why you're doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Look, really interesting times for Manly. I just think that they have to sort this sooner rather than later. It's weird because the feeling I get is that Desi is after an extension and they're hesitant. That's what it seems like the latest movements are. But yeah, I think Manly need to sort this ASAP because it is just going to, the longer it goes, the less prepared they're going to be for next year. But the good thing is it looks at least like there's steps towards resolution. But anyway, let's get into the team of the week. Team of the week brought to you by Bloke and a Bar Beer. Bloke Beer is now in every single Celebrations Bottle-O, IGA Plus liquor and Porter's liquor in New South Wales and ACT. So if you live in New South Wales or ACT, you've got a Bottle-O around the corner, you've got a Celebrations near you, they will stock Bloke Beer. So head in there, grab a case, really easy drinking beer, Aussie spirit in a can, and it's a beer for blokes that turn up for their family, for mates, and for good times. Also got the Bloke Midi, the all-new Bloke Midi that people are absolutely loving, especially in Queensland. Queensland love their middies. People are absolutely loving it. So we're in every Liquor Legends in Queensland and New South Wales, but you can go to our website, blokeandabar.com. We've got the store locator. It's really easy to use, guys. Just put in your suburb. It will literally show you on the map the closest stockist to you. It'll put the address, the name of the store, everything, the phone number of it. So grab a case of Bloke and a Bar beer. Plus, we've got OG Bloke shirts on the website, bloke.shop. We've got the original with the big yellow bloke across the front and the brown shirt. We've got them. And we've also got the black and white bloke. Now, team of the week. Team of the week for me, Latrell on one wing, To'o on the other, Holmes in one centre position. Now, this was a really tough decision for me. Campbell Graham or Peter Hiku. I don't know which one I'm going to go with because they were both absolutely amazing. Mulatalo at 5, Walker at 6, Cleary at 7, Tarpner at 8, Robson at 9. Harry Grant was also pretty good. Fisher Harris at 10, Arrow at 11, Kolomatangi at 12, Taumalolo 13, Hines at 14, Leota at 15, Cotter at 16, Murray at 17.
Sat down last night to do this and thought there was only 4 games. This will be easy. It was harder than ever.
It was so honestly, I'm not even sure about that team. Seriously,
well, I'm looking at yours and I'm really not confident on mine.
Yeah,
that's how.
Well, because I could put Hines at 7.
Yeah, quite
Hines
easily.
was fucking amazing. He was amazing. So I don't know. I ended up, I had Latrell or Drinky at fullback. I thought both of them were fantastic. Who'd you go, Latrell? I'll go Drinky then. 231 metres, line break and that
assist.
Crucial try-winning play, match-winning play.
Yeah, 11 tackle breaks. He was great. I had To'o on one wing, and then I had Alex Johnson as well. I chucked him in. My centres, I went for Peter Hiku and Campbell Graham. I controversially left Val Holmes out of there.
Oh, the match winner.
Tough. I just thought Campbell Graham, like we spoke about it yesterday a lot. I thought he was unbelievable. And Hiku, I pretty much wrote down Val Holmes and I had to look through the stats. 300 metres for Peter Hiku.
I know. It's put it this way, Holmes is there in my team because of the field goal.
Yeah, and it's completely fair. I wouldn't push back on it at all. I had Walker and Nathan Cleary in the halves. I had James Fisher-Harris. I thought he was unbelievable. Harry Grant was my 9. Tapane was my other front rower. I had Jai Arrow, which you had as well. And then I thought Elliot Whitehead was great for the Canberra Raiders too. He had a great game. And then Taumalolo, I think he was probably the player of the week. 1 try, 270 metres, line break, 42 tackles. He was everywhere, Taumalolo. My bench, I went Nico Hines, Cam Murray, Ruben Cotter and Josh Papali'i. I thought he was great for the Raiders. Couldn't you tell that Josh has just been waiting for finals to come?
Oh, mate, especially that second half.
Yeah.
He was amazing. Yeah. Anyone else that stood out for you, Matty?
Toby Rudolph.
Yeah, he was massive. That try, holy, that try was crazy.
Oh, he ran over Taumalolo on that run.
I know.
That was crazy.
You know what? I reckon that's what instigated Taumalolo's game. Because before that, Taumalolo hadn't done much, and I reckon Todd Payton got on the radio and absolutely gave him a serve, and then he just, boom.
Did we mention that pass, Taumalolo?
Yeah, left to right. What's up, guys? Before we get back to the footy chat, make sure to grab a case of Bloke Midi. We're now in every single Liquor Legends. Go to liquorlegends.com.au, put in your postcode. It will show you your nearest stockist. And OG Bloke is in every single Celebrations, Bottle-O, IGA Plus Liquor, and Porter's Liquor in New South Wales and ACT. Plus, it's in every single Celebrations Superstore in Queensland. Also, we're in plenty more stores. You go to blokeinabar.com, you put in your postcode, it will show you your nearest Bloke stockist. Yeah, okay. Panthers versus Eels. Oh, man. So, when Cleary got suspended, I was pretty concerned. I just thought he's a human being. He's going to need at least 80 minutes to ease his way back in, just to get the timings and everything. Look, you can train as much as you want. You can train as much as you want, but there's nothing like a game. And look, I'll be honest, I think that the first 40, he was just a really good kicker, doing everything right. But then the second 40, he just exploded onto the game. Now, that may be because Para, I felt, dominated field position for most of that first half. But look, I was absolutely wrong. He did not need a game. Luai didn't need a game together. Cleary was absolutely phenomenal. And I think that if the other games weren't as crazy as they were, he would be just all over the headlines all weekend. He was amazing. Yeah, so I was absolutely wrong about that. He didn't need an extra game. He was good to go. What did you think about Para versus Eels? Sorry, Penrith versus Eels.
Good God. Yeah, this Panthers-Eels game, obviously you mentioned Nathan Cleary came back after a couple of weeks off, and like if you watched that game just in a vacuum, you would have no idea that Nathan Cleary had a few weeks off. Mm-hmm. He just did not miss a beat. And there was that set where he put in that perfect little kick for Dylan Edwards, obviously a little set play they'd come up with. And doesn't it just show, like, just a game of inches? They put Clint Gutherson out of position by about half a metre, and that's all that Nathan needed to get it perfect there. They kick off, he makes the line break, he backs it up again, and he puts Fisher-Harris under the sticks. He just went to a new level, Nathan Cleary. He obviously owned the final series last year, but it'd be scary if he owns 2 big final series in a row.
We were speaking about it. The only domain, like I know he's won 3 series, really the only domain left to conquer is Origin. You mean you could say international footy, but it's probably not, I guess. Do we really look back at like Cam Smith, Joey and Lockie and go, oh, they dominated Australia, so they're, you know, maybe the times are changing, but I think Origin is the pinnacle that you need to dominate.
Yeah. And hopefully times are changing, but I think it's Origin that matters. It's Origin that where you look back and that's where greats become legends.
For sure. I mean, even players that at club were solid become legends because of the Origin
100%.
arena.
Yeah. Is there a greater compliment than being called an Origin player?
Yeah.
Like a
really
true Origin player that's going to show up every single week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Gagai is a perfect example of that. Like, he's been really solid for the Rabbitohs, but if you just looked at that part of his game, you'd be like, oh, he's a good, really good outside back. But then if you put him in Origin, or when you look at his Origin, you go, it elevates his career to, oh, you put him as one of the better centres for like a long time. Yeah. Or at least on par with some of the best centres.
Yeah. And you look at like a Wally Lewis, who's an immortal of our game, you know, never won a premiership in the NRL, did a heap up in the Brisbane competition, obviously, but it's Origin that elevates him to another level, and that's the last thing that Nate has to conquer for me.
Yeah. And look, you could make, he's had good games in Origin for sure. But he's dominated the clubland for
Especially
so long.
when you look at all the great halves, they all have Origin series that they dominate and they own, and you remember that as their series. And I mean, that's how like people can get stuck into Nath and say he hasn't owned that arena yet, which is fine. I agree with you. But the scary thing is he could still have another 10 Origin series.
He's 24.
24.
He's 24. Like it's kind of like it's a compliment to him. Like people don't. It's actually haters that say it sometimes that they're too harsh on Cleary, but it's a compliment to him because we're comparing him to the greats of our game. We're going, oh Cleary, he's nearly a great. He just needs to dominate Origin, and then boom, he's there. I think he's still got to do a lot in his club career, but the natural progression is obviously.
But he couldn't be in a better spot to achieve as far as his club career goes.
Well, I mean, I spoke about it on Friday. The Panthers are going for back-to-back, and we haven't even talked about it. Like, we haven't even talked about it. No one has sat there and gone, like, for example, when the Roosters went back-to-back, we talked about it all the time, and rightly so. It hadn't happened in a very long time. But there's been plenty of other years where when teams go back-to-back, we're talking about, they'll be fatigued, it's very hard, like, to get up for that second grand final. Haven't heard a peep about that for the Panthers.
And I know people hate ifs and whatnot, but in my opinion, if Cameron Smith would have retired a year earlier, they'd be going for 3 in a row this year.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's I mean, I think Storm. Yeah, I agree. Like, I hate to say, well, if Cam Smith was still playing or whatever, but it just shows you in those big games, you need those big players. And it's like, like I'd even say Latrell, like he's just this big game player. Cleary, he's a big game player. Like Valentine Holmes, big game player. Like there are very just different players that just seem to find a way to make something special happen in the big games. But anyway, back to the Panthers. They were absolutely amazing. I thought that the Eels really... Well, first of all, the first thing that concerned me with the Eels, even though they dominated that first 20, and I've got it in my notes here, Cleary's first 2 kicks, no pressure.
Yep.
And I was sitting there going, how is that possible? How is that possible?
Yeah, I would have thought that would have been the first thing that would have been at the top of their checklist for this game. He needs to be whacked you want to put him on the ground. You don't have to, you want him getting up and down off the ground as much as he possibly can in this game.
Yeah.
Mate, he had all the time in the world for those kicks.
I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 kicks where he had a bit of pressure, but when I saw that, I was like, that's really bad signs because it shows me that they're just not in the right headspace. And it's a bit of a hard one, though, because then they went on to dominate the next 20. And aside from an error or two, I thought they were pretty good in the first half. They were pretty good. They were great. They were 7-6 up. But I do think they missed a lot of opportunities that they could have capitalised on. And then when the Panthers got those opportunities, they did capitalise on them.
He had 23 kicks the other night.
Far out. 700 metres or something he kicked for, I think?
627.
Yeah.
I just, I don't remember there being that many times when he was under any pressure at all. And especially when he was putting up the kicks that he's putting up. He obviously picked out Wonga Blake very early. Unfortunate for Wonga Blake, he's got these games in him, and when you've got a halfback like Nathan Cleary, he will find you. But you could tell the entire time where they were going to set up their set to put the bomb up to Wonga Blake. Parramatta had a whole set to prepare for all of them. And still nothing.
It was super surprising. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, how is it possible that you're going into a essentially a grand final, because you're arguably 2 of the favourites, and you're not kick pressuring Cleary? Like, everyone knows that if there's one thing to take away from the Panthers, it's his kicking game. And his kicking game is what was the difference. It really was. Like what was there? A try, like 2 tries? Well, so there was a try from a kick from Edwards, but then also the other tries came after Wonga Blake's errors, which were from kicks.
Well, the Brian Toto first try came directly off that play where he knocked on and the boys flicked to each other. Like, mate, I would have gone as far as to give away an early penalty in the game just to whack Nathan Cleary off a kick and let him know we're here.
Yeah. I want you thinking about every time you kick the ball, I want you scared that someone's coming in to smash you.
Yep.
Legally, of course, not illegally. It's just... I mean, legally as in, like, don't head high him or anything like that. But at the same time, if it's a little bit late, within not head high him, you know what I'm saying? So it can be a little bit late, but don't be a fucking grub and head high the bloke. You rough him up like you can do in rugby league.
Oh, I couldn't believe the first one he wasn't roughed up.
Yeah, neither. Held to the ground and just have a grubby moment. Like that's part of rugby league. It's part of getting in their heads. It's
I mean, like I thought the opening few minutes of South Sydney's game was a classic example.
Mm-hmm.
Went straight for Radley, got under his skin straight away.
Well,
and it made a statement.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it was like Radley almost picked Milne out because of the issue of Crichton-Milne from last week. Yeah, fuck. Anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get to it. So look, this is a hard game because like it was a dominant performance by the Panthers, but the Eels were, they went into the break at 7-6. They went into the break at 7-6. I thought Moses' kicking game was really good the first half, but I thought the forward pack in regards to go forward put them in the right positions to score, but I just thought their goal line attack was really it was wanting. It was wanting.
Yeah, there was a big moment there where Moses, he came up with 2 forced dropouts in about 3 minutes. One of them was an absolute cracker. He saw Dylan Edwards up in the front line, dropped it in behind. It was perfect.
40-20 attempt, was it? And he knocked it back in?
Yeah, but there was the one off the 2-4. Yeah, sorry, that was the first one. And then they went, the one where he picked Edwards in the front line.
Yeah.
And then Nathan Cleary had the dropout and, Junior obviously dropped it off the back of that. They then lost their challenge. Then they gave away, I think, a penalty in the next set. It was a real... as much as I think it was the 8th or 9th minute, it was already a little bit of a turning point.
Yeah.
Like Penrith are that good, you cannot let them get away. Like if you've got them down their end,
you got points.
Oh mate, you have to come back with points.
Yeah.
You have to. If it's 2 points, whatever, you have to just build scoreboard pressure. And if you give them a sniff, they make you pay every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because they only scored 4 tries, but they're 27.
Yeah.
So it's just like they take everything. They take every little, like if there's a little bit of fat in the game, they're cutting it off. They're just finding whatever they need to find. 4 tries and 27, points. It means that like they're not missing anything.
Yeah, and mate, I thought there was a number of times, especially with that Penrith left edge, that's where I thought they'd get a lot of points out of them, and I thought early they were going to be able to get them. To Parramatta's credit, I thought they defended that edge pretty well across the entire game. Like there was a number of times where Penrith was still in the front foot, and I thought, geez, Parramatta, they didn't panic there. Their cover defence was pretty good. You get to the end of this game, and they've beaten them by 20 points.
Yeah, it's So the first half was good. The second half, though, for the Eels, that completion rate in a finals game, it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. And then, look, the Eels, the players, the best thing they can do is just forget about it and move on. Because if they start to become negative on themselves, it's just they're not going to have the confidence to be able to win their next week. But, we have to talk about it because it's what happened. Like, that is just unforgivable, that second half completion rate.
It reminded me a lot of when the Sharks played them a couple of weeks ago. The Sharks really stuck to their game plan. They kicked early. They went hard at them for the first half. And then you just have a 10-minute period where you drop off with a couple of errors. Parramatta run. They just run away from you. They're gone. It's like they're playing chicken as far as who's going to hold longer here without an error. And as soon as you fuck up, they just go bang. Like they also had Taylor May off for a sin bin. They won that period. They scored more points than Parramatta in that 10-minute period.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, and that's the thing. I think Eels will really rue this game because it was there. It wasn't like the Panthers came out and blew them off the park. The Eels I felt they controlled most of the first half. There were periods, obviously, where the Panthers, bounced back. But I thought, the Eels were just the better side in the first half. And then the second half, just that many, 14 errors in a finals game with most of them coming in that second half. Just unforgivable.
I think it was tough too. I think that against just about any other team in this competition, I think there was 2 times where Sivo, he would have scored. But Penrith's cover defence, it's just incredible. They just have numbers everywhere. And there was times where Parramatta's defence was the same. But once again, you give this Penrith side a sniff and they're gone. Can I ask you, do you think Nathan Cleary would have kicked a field goal before half-time if Mitch Moses didn't go for it? Set before? Did he put the idea in his head? Was it a bit of a one-up? What do you reckon?
No, I think Cleary goes for it anyway.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think... Because, think about it. If let's say Moses doesn't, they're sitting at 6-all. You think Cleary isn't smart enough if he's got the ball down their end when he's got like a minute to go to bang over a field goal? Because he's done it before half time, Cleary.
He has, yeah, has he? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Cleary's definitely hit field goals before half time. Do you reckon it was a direct answer?
Oh, I just reckon that he sort of like it was in the 37th minute, so like there was enough time for them to put up a huge another one of those huge bombs and to take them on. So I don't know. I'm not sure if it would have been in Nath's mind had Moses not taken that shot, given them the 7 tackle set.
That's fair. It was great. Regardless of whether he intentionally or did whatever, it's just great to see. It's just great theatre. Sorry, the Panthers went in at halftime 7-6 up.
Yeah, they were up by 1.
Yeah, apologies. Yeah. I don't know why I'm remembering the Eels being up by 1. Anyway, and so yeah, I mean that makes the first half even more disappointing for the Eels because, they had opportunities, like plenty of opportunities. Anyway, the second half rolls around, and yeah, those errors were just unforgivable. That's my concern. Like now with the Eels is like I've seen them in finals footy, and we've seen them lift in these big games, and they definitely lifted in the first half. It was essentially a draw, 7-6 to the Panthers. But then when the going got tough, it just all seemed to fall apart. And look, Moses went off for sure, and people were saying that like they were still in the game with Moses like on the field. I tend to disagree. I thought Panthers were on top of them by then. I really did.
I sort of felt like it was done. They were just waiting to land that last knockout blow. You spoke about the second half, like Parramatta, they came out of the sheds. They received the ball for the kickoff. They made 35 metres on their first set.
Wow.
Off the kickoff.
Wow.
And I've been keeping a really close eye on the Penrith Panthers throughout this season. Their sets after points are so much better than anyone else in this competition. It's not even funny. There was only one set after points or a kickoff set on the weekend where Penrith didn't cross halfway before last.
Wow.
And then you turn it around and Parramatta, they had the whole second half of their season, not season on the line, but opportunity to earn that week off, beat the top team in this competition. They came up with 35 metres. And obviously it was a big set for Penrith to start that second half as well. But like with that Parramatta pack and the team they've got, you should be at least crossing the 40-metre line. Yeah,
no, I agree. It's with Para, I'm a bit. It's again, regardless of the result, you just don't know what's going to turn up next week because like this could turn out to be Para. This gives them fire, and all of a sudden they come out next week and they kill it. I will say though that the idea of them winning the first game and only having play 3 games to win the premiership is much more appealing than like can the Eels play 4 games to win a premiership? I'm beginning to doubt.
And that was always going to be the test. It's what we spoke about all year, that it's, if you do get that 1 week off, then your season starts again and you've got 2 games of footy you need to win. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you've got to play 3 games in a row. You've got to win 3 games in a row. You've got to take on Canberra at the moment, who are playing with house money. They're just in the perfect spot that they want to be in. I can't wait for those 2 forward packs to go at each other.
Oh, mate, it's going to be incredible. Anyway, we'll talk about specifics with the Eels. I thought Dill Brown was quiet. I didn't think he... it was just such a weird game because I'm watching it and I don't know whether it was Panthers' incredible defence that kind of kerfuffled the Eels because they're going in sets. They didn't look really dangerous at all. Or whether it was Dill Brown being a bit quiet and not getting involved in the game as much as he should have. I just don't know what the answer is, but regardless of why, we do know that, Dill was a bit quiet. I thought, who else? Gutho had his moments, but I thought he was a little bit quiet. Moses was really good kicking-wise, but again, I thought their forward pack got them in the right field positions, and I thought they were a little bit let down by the execution of the backs. Because even Penrith's 1 try, it was Reid Marnie that set it up.
Yeah.
So that's one area where I feel like the Eels backs need to really step up next week, where if the Panthers forwards are going to do all that hard work and get them in the right field position and get them in a game, because that's the thing. I don't think anyone would argue the Eels forward pack put them in a position to win that game, in my opinion. If they, put it this way, if they go down and score 2 or 3 tries when they were dominating in that first half, they could go in at like 12 to 16 to 6.
Yep.
It's a very different second half then.
Completely different.
Completely different. And I know people are like, oh, you're speaking about what ifs, yes, that's a what if, but I'm talking about specifics of how they can improve. And it's in my opinion, it's the backs. I just didn't think they delivered. And that's all the way from 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just didn't think they delivered the same as the forwards.
And as much as they're, what ifs and all this, like in finals footy, those just being in front on the scoreboard going into halftime, like Parramatta would have sat there and gone, fuck, we threw everything we had at this mob.
Yeah.
These fuckers are still up.
Well, they're up, 7-6, like somehow, some way.
Psychologically, that's big. And I also think it would have had an impact on Parramatta that Penrith took their play, went down the other end and nailed it perfectly.
Yeah.
A lot of ifs and everything. There was a pass, there was a few times coming out of their own end, like there was a Guffo forward pass to Sivo. Like just these plays that were just not on, and you come back to once again just playing rugby league chicken. Who can hold in it mentally for longer? And Penrith, they just don't fall out.
They don't. And that's my concern with the Eels is like when you look at teams like the Cowboys, the Sharks, the Rabbitohs, the Raiders. I'd probably the Raiders put the Raiders in there because Ricky. Maybe a little bit out of that category. But when you look at Cowboys, Sharks, Rabbitohs, the mental toughness they showed to hang in those games was fucking wild. They didn't break for a second. And then for the Eels to come out in that second half, from their first 10 sets, they had 50% completion rate. It's just like you're not winning finals games doing that. And that's where the game was lost. It was lost in that first 10 sets of the second half.
And that's where part of me also wonders, like, all those other teams that held in their contests, I wonder if they could have done it to the Penrith Panthers as well. Like, I don't want to, obviously your completion rate, you're in control of it and everything, but it's, obviously we can't, but I'd love to be out there and just see how hard it is to handle this Penrith Panthers side.
But some of the errors were unforced. For
for
example, Wanga Blake, like he was let down by his forwards in regards to they didn't kick pressure Cleary. But like as a winger, that's your job. You gotta catch them. And look, you might drop one, but what do you end up dropping, like 4?
Yeah, 4 or 5, I think it was.
So the Wanga Blake one, the concern with Wanga Blake, and we all know he's talented, and we thought he'd found his position on the wing. But unfortunately now, do you take him into the next game?
I don't think I could.
Because that's basically I don't know, maybe he catches it next week. But if he doesn't, it's a guaranteed attacking set.
And straight away that the first kick that goes up, it's going
straight
to
him.
Blake.
100%.
And if he don't if he drops that first one, respectfully to Blake, it can get in his head. We've seen it in the past. It's not like this week was one off. Nathan Cleary knew it going into this week, and he's not the only one in the competition that's there's a heap of wingers, and it's a hard job, but it can be costly.
Well, look, 3 or 4 drop balls, you could say that's 12 points, minimum. You take 12 points off the 27, what are you looking at? You're looking at 15, it's 15-8. And look, again, this is not to say that the Eels would have won if Wanga Blake didn't drop those balls. There was errors all over the place. So, but it's a clear connection between some points that were scored because of errors. And so the game's very different if it's 15-8. It's like 2 tries. Is it? Yeah.
It's not far off.
A conversion, it's 15-14. You get 1 try, it's 15-14. And so, look, Wanga Blake, his talent is there for everyone to see. His ball running, some of the plays, he scored one of the best tries you'll ever see a couple of weeks ago. But very concerned in regards to that high ball. I would honestly, I hate to say it, it would be hard to pick him. It'd be hard.
But then you then got to consider you're obviously coming into a sudden death game where you're going to change up your wing and centre combo as well. And you got to remember they're playing the Canberra Raiders this week, so it would mean that they're changing their combos on their right edge to handle Jack, Hudson Young, Sebi Chris.
Do you think that picking Wanga Blake will be okay because they don't have the same kicking ability.
Potentially,
as
and I think we do need to take that into consideration. I think it's fair to probably say Matt Burton's got the best foot in rugby league as far as bombs go. Nathan Cleary couldn't possibly be any lower.
Yeah, he's close,
second,
for sure.
And you could argue he's at times has got more control over those as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard changing up your edge combinations, especially on the edge that the Raiders love to go down. It's massive. But yeah, I don't know. Like, to be honest with you, I've been in similar situations when I've sort of thought before after games that Corey Oates has played. He's another guy that if he drops one, you can normally get 2 or 3 out of Corey Oates. And I've sort of had games where I've thought, fuck, I don't know if I'd pick him this week off the back of last week. And many times the Broncos have backed him in and he's bounced back really well. It's a test for Brad Arthur.
Yeah.
See what he does.
I'm not sure. I'd probably... It's hard to pick him, but I'd probably lean with picking him and focusing on, okay, yes, Wonga Blake dropped those balls and, you know, one or two, okay, but outside of that, you've probably got to make them. But I'd be putting more onus on the kick pressure. I'd be getting into my forwards going, boys, how come there was barely any kick pressure on Cleary all night long? Now, I'd understand if there was kick pressure all night long and this just happened to be the 4 kicks that weren't kick pressure. But unfortunately, now I don't know whether this was because Penrith were so good at getting quick play the balls on their 4th tackle or 5th tackle. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was the case. But I'd be doing everything I can to be putting kick pressure on the kicker to at least help Wonga Blake, because that's half the battle. Like, half the battle is Wonga Blake catching it, but if you want to help your teammate, half the battle is making that kick hard to do. You shouldn't be able to be hitting floaters that regularly. So I'd probably stick with him just because I guess I'd have to ask myself, you know, who would you have bring in? It would be Bailey.
Well, it'd be Bailey. He hasn't played since round 19 in first grade.
And also, like, you know, is Bailey a known safe as anything winger? No, he's also got an error to him. Great ball runner, incredible ball runner. So I'd probably stick with him, and I would put a massive onus on saying to my forwards, you've got to help him out, mate. You know how hard that job is? Like, just like when the wingers come in and scoot and help you out, forwards, you need to help him out. That job of catching that ball is like, you know, very rarely would a guy go 4 from 4 catching those balls there, because it's just, they're floating everywhere.
I think the other thing with Bailey as well, you have to consider, like, yes, Wonga, he has got those errors in him, but fuck, there's a lot of other moments throughout games where I'd rather have Wonga Blake on that edge.
Yeah, like the
Bailey
positives that he
well.
brings. Yeah, he can be a game breaker at times. He's as great finisher, good ball carrier. So yeah, really, I felt so bad for him, because it's just like those bombs are a nightmare to catch. And yeah, it's his job, it's a profession. There's no denial. We've just discussed all that. But at the end of the day, you got to feel sorry for the bloke, because it's not like he's intentionally missing those catches.
And as much as, you know, obviously the Raiders don't have a kicker like Nathan Cleary, you can put money on that those halves will be putting up and saying to Hudson Young, you need to whack him.
Yeah.
Everything, you need to be there when he comes down. And fuck, won't Hudson love that?
Oh, he will absolutely love it.
Even Sebi Chris, like 2 big bodies there that will get down.
Yep.
Even Jack White, when he chases his kicks.
Yeah.
Tough one.
Now the bench for the Eels. I don't know how I feel about the bench. Look, it ended up being decent that Jacob Arthur came on because Mitchell Mose got injured. I think they probably need a bigger body in a Cartwright on the bench instead of Arthur. Maybe even Nathan Brown.
What about Nathan Brown suddenly reappearing?
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Right now, like, anyway. I just don't know if he's, like, it was great that he got all the time during the year, Jacob Arthur. It was great that he had that moment against Manly. But finals footy, I just don't know if he's ready for it yet. And I think on the weekend we kind of saw that. He came in, poor defensive error. He also kicked the ball out in the full.
Yep.
He had one really good pass to Wonga Blake, but I'm just unsure as to whether he's ready for that role just yet. And it's rightly, he's a young footy player. These things take time. I don't know if I'd be going with him on the bench.
Especially, he's an out-and-out 7. Like, you can't chuck him in at 9. He's not like a Matty Burton time where you can chuck him at centre or whatever. Like, you either have to use him in the halves, and personally I think you have to use him at half-backs. And it did work out that Mitch Moses was injured, but personally, if I'm Parramatta, if Mitch Moses goes down, I think you're fucked anyway. I just don't see any point carrying a 7 like him. And I thought, coming into this game against the Penrith Panthers with the pack that they've got, it blew me away.
Well, like, what I'm a bit surprised at is, like, why not put Bryce Cartwright on there? Dylan Brown goes to 7, Cartwright goes to 6. Surely Dylan Brown is a solid option for 7. Like, I mean, yeah, is he going to be as good as Mitch Moses? No, but I think he's going to be solid at 7 if you need him to play there. Just get the boys around the park. Like, he's a footy player.
Yeah, so, and I mean, mate, even when Mitch Moses went down and you got Jake Arthur in the team, I still want Dill Brown running it.
That's what I mean. When he came on, I thought he would.
To Jake Arthur, it's going to be Dill Brown anyway. So for me, you might as well have Bryce on there, who is at least has got a little bit of upside. He's a little bit harder to prepare for. You can chuck him in the back row. You can chuck him out in the centres if you're desperate. I don't know. It just doesn't.
Like when he came on, I thought Dill Brown was going to be the guy leading it around still, and Jacob Arthur was going to just play second fiddle and whatever, but it wasn't like that at all.
It wasn't like that, and it's been like that throughout the season too. Whenever, like you saw it at the start of the season, they were putting Arthur on and moving Dill Brown to centre. Like, Dill Brown sort of goes into his shell when Jacob Arthur is on the field, and I think it's at the detriment of the Parramatta Eels. And, you know, and to Jake Arthur's credit, good on him for getting on the field and wanting to take control.
Yeah.
He's a halfback, that's his role, but Dill Brown's the guy with the hot hand and the experience. He's the one that you want in the driver's seat.
Yeah, look, Jake Arthur is a young rookie. We're not like, okay, he's got the last name Arthur, so it makes it, you know, very weird to talk about. But, you know, his last name could be Smith. And we're talking more about the fact he's a rookie. These are big, big games. I'd be reticent to put any rookie on the bench in a key position that can only play that position. Yeah. Regardless.
And like, if you look on the other side of the park, the Penrith Panthers, like, personally, I would have picked Eisenhuth on my bench. They went for Jamin Salmon, but at least Salmon, he can jump in the back row. He can play six, slide out to centre. He can cover positions.
Fullback if he had to.
Arthur isn't that guy.
So, yeah, it's a... I don't know if I'd go with it. I'd probably bring Cartwright onto that bench. Like even Maddo you could chuck in at 6.
100%. Maddo grew up playing
6. So I thought Maddo was really good off the bench. I mean, solid. He was solid off the bench. So
like you'd almost be better off carrying an extra outside back and then moving Gutho to 6 over, in my opinion, playing Jake Arthur.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a really good point. Gutho definitely can play 6.
Well, I know. The Canberra Raiders, when they went to their grand final a few years ago, I'm pretty sure they had Bailey Simonson on their bench.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of teams doing that. I don't understand why you would carry an out-and-out halfback who can't play any other position.
But that.
I think that's just bizarre.
So, yeah, look, I think that's a mistake, unfortunately, from Brad Arthur. And I guess now it's Brad Arthur is under a lot of pressure. Look, I don't think personally his job should be under pressure if they bounce out twice, because there's not much out to replace him. Now, look, if Desi Hasler came on the market or a Wayne Bennett or something like that, then you go okay. But I think that like if they bounce out next week, it's almost do or die next. Like it's do or die next year. First 10 weeks is almost do or die.
Yeah, and in my opinion, next year is going to be a shocking year for it to be do or die for Brad Arthur, because you're going to lose Reid Marnie, you're going to lose Isaiah Papali'i. It's going to be a tough year, and granted they haven't won comps in the last few years, but they've set their standard as being a top 4 team. I reckon it's going to be very tough for them to maintain that next year.
Well, it's kind of, I guess the argument is like if you can't win a comp with this squad, then what's going on?
And that's the thing as well.
Sorry. Comp's too hard. I apologise. A prelim or a grand final?
Yeah. But, I mean, like, you look... I personally think this is the best squad Parramatta has had, probably since 2001.
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
This is their best opportunity. They are all full strength. They are ready to go. They've fallen out in week 1 when, granted, it's at Penrith. It's a hard game, but... They are the only team that's been able to beat them the entire year. They would have gone into this one confident.
But it wasn't the fact they lost. It was the fact that the second half they came out and had 5 from 10 completion rate. And then the little errors in selection, in my opinion, were on the bench. So, look, anything less than a prelim, in my opinion, for the Eels is not good enough.
And that's the thing. Squad. Like, I reckon he's probably the 5th, 6th, 7th best coach in the NRL.
I mean, look at this. He took them from a spoon to now.
They were cheating and coming last.
Yeah, which is crazy. So look, they've got everything to play for next week. I mean, the players are. This is their window. This is it. This is not going to come around again soon, in my opinion, unless they can find someone to replace Reid. Look, they do have Hodgson, so if he can get back to his best form, then they're absolutely laughing. But losing Isaiah Papali'i, Nia Koro, They're losing another Kafusi.
Kafusi, yeah.
Like they're losing the depth of the pack that doesn't get the raps it should. That you're not hearing about every week, that depth, that's so important.
Yeah, and you got to fill those jerseys at some point.
Yeah.
And then when you do have your, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Junior Baller, when they come off the field, you need guys to maintain that level. And I don't know where they're going to get them from. I really don't.
So yeah, don't hurt me, Eels. I've been backing you to the death all day. All year I've been backing Eels. But look, if I'm wrong, happy to say I'm wrong. Now quickly with the Penny Panthers. Yeah, wow. What's crazy is I still reckon they got another gear in them. Leota and Fisher-Harris were absolutely phenomenal. They just silently go about their work. They don't get the same. They're a victim of their own consistency. But over the last couple of years, they have taken it to every single forward pack in the comp and nearly pretty much beaten every single forward pack in the competition. They were outstanding. They were absolutely outstanding. I think it's, maybe it's a little bit of because they don't play Origin, they don't get the same hype because how often do we see players that if they were playing Origin, they'd be all over the papers, this, that, and the next thing. But because they're not in the biggest arena, they don't get the same appreciation. But Leota and Fisher-Harris, you'd have to say are the best. They've proven it. They're the best combo in the comp.
And they're for you and me, Tapane, he puts up these amazing stats every week. It's easy to make posts and draw people's attention to that. Tamalo's the same. James Fisher-Harris, he's one of those guys that his stats don't always most of the time they don't reflect how good he is. It's hard to express in an Instagram post or in a Twitter or whatever the hell it is how important it is to have the biggest alpha on the field. And he is that guy every single time. And I think people underappreciate it, and we look at mate, we sat here a few weeks ago and went, Payne Haas or Pat Carrigan. Both have better stats than James Fisher-Harris, but I'll tell you what, if you throw Fisher-Harris into that mix, I'm taking Fish.
Yeah, he's proven. He's premiership winner.
He's proven on the big stages time and time again. And, he came into this game. I remember when I first watched him play.
Was he an edge back rower?
He was an edge back rower, and he was so much like Mark Guy. He was a Looney Tune. Yeah. You were just waiting for him to get sent off. He was a maniac. And all of a sudden now he's turned into one of the most composed front rowers we've seen in recent years. And he's got I don't think anyone would describe James Fisher-Harris as a grub or anything like that, but he's just got a way about him that you don't see any players fucking with him.
Nah, no way.
And he doesn't say much. He doesn't get through monster stats. He doesn't break. He doesn't do anything. His presence means the world for Penrith.
Yeah, he's the heart of that team.
He really is the heart of them.
He was outstanding, and Leota as well. I thought Leota's first 20 defence was incredible. He was absolutely folding blokes in that first 20. And again, he won't get the raps that he deserves, but. Put it this way, if most people said, give us your top 10 front rowers, I think Leota wouldn't even come up with a lot of people.
And mate, James Fisher-Harris would be criminally low as well.
Yeah, it would be, these guys, but this is the two front row that, they're going for their third grand final.
Yep.
This is going for their third grand final. Absolutely amazing.
And Spencer Leniu comes off the bench. He played for 24 minutes. He ran for 80 metres.
No, he's so good impact-wise.
He's perfect.
And he's the kind of guy, as long as he can progress properly, he's an impact player now, but if they can get that to a 60-minute mark, he'll be the next big thing.
Yep.
He'll be the next big forward. It's just about making sure that development is right, correct, and then eventually, how often do we... Fisher-Harris is a good example. Came into the grade, rough around the edges, and then they just moulded him into this absolute beast. Spencer Leniu, what about when he's on camera going, you have this, the next thing? And
you need that.
You need it. You want him willing. And he wasn't saying it to who? He was saying it to a big dog.
Papali'i, wasn't he? Yeah. He was saying I think who's been probably the best forward the last 2 years.
So he wasn't, and I'm telling you right now, very rarely do you get people speaking to a big dog like Papali'i like that. You got to have some fucking balls on you to be squaring up to a guy like Papali'i, which is what you want in a forward pack. And yeah,
especially for a guy like him, it would be so easy for IPAP to turn around and say, you're playing 20 minutes off the bench, shut the fuck up. But he doesn't care. He knows his role. He nails it. He does it every single week. And he knows that team, they're going to get over anyone.
Mate, they're just such a pleasure to watch. Such a pleasure to watch. Give Isaiah Tungo. Just quickly. So there's a video recently.
Yeah, I saw it. Unbelievable.
It's Tago.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether he has just accidentally said that because he's used to Aussie saying it. I'm in Inception level 3 now, Guru. I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm trying to do the right thing by the boys and say your names right, but I don't know what's up or down anymore. So I guess, once again, guys, get your leave in the comment section. Is it Tago or Tungo?
Fuck, I'll tell you, mate, to be honest, I'm done with the comments. NRL, get off your ass, get on the front foot and have these fellas pronouncing their names before the game start so that we know.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You come on here, you go to Nine, you go to Fox, everyone's saying each name differently. And all these blokes, they're too much of good fellas. They're too polite to say, hey, dickhead, here's how you say my name.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
The NRL needs to get on the front foot.
Yeah.
So that we know.
Yeah, and I guess make them feel comfortable in saying, oh, hang on a sec, it's actually not this, it's that.
Yeah, 100%. And it should be at that point. The NRL needs to do it. They need to change it.
People always got my name wrong, Deanan and all that kind of stuff. And I'm of the mind, I don't care. But when it's, I guess, this represents a much bigger thing because it's like a cultural thing. So, mate, I mean, we've ad nauseum, we've spoken about it. We have to sort this out. Because, like, I'm up here saying Tungo, he's saying Tago, but he might be saying that because everyone calls him that in the street, so he doesn't want to, you know what I mean? He doesn't want people to say this. Anyway, the NRL, you're right. We need to sit down with the Polynesian players and every player, get it recorded audio-wise, and every time they score a try or something happens, it says it. So we all know how to say it correctly. And what's surprising is it's such an easy solution.
It's so fucking easy.
They're already there for media days. They're all already there. This wouldn't be an extra tens of thousands that you'd need to spend. They already like Fox League, Nine, and the NRL, every single year go around to every club and have media days. It happens every single year. So if there are someone in the NRL or Fox or Nine listening, please do it.
They also had a media day for all the top 8 teams 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, please do it. And you know what? I'm telling you, the goodwill you'll get from doing something like that is worth it. You know, the Polynesian community, which is a growing community, and also the other ones like, you know, the Travojeviches and all, like, you know, there's plenty of different heritages with names that are tough to say. It's a boon. It's a boon for the game. It's what we're about. We're about bringing people together and all that kind of stuff.
That's what makes it so hard that people don't see. Like, we'll say, oh, can someone leave it in the comments? And I'll get 5 messages from 5 different people saying, this is how you pronounce it. And it's 5 different ways.
I still stuff up Bolo. I don't know. I honestly think I'm saying it wrong. I don't know.
Well, I heard the other day that like some of the Parramatta boys are like they're also almost confused because all the commentators
I don't know.
are saying it completely different.
Well, it's funny because Fox now they don't say Swaliti, they say Sualiti, so they're saying it correctly. I think. I don't know. Anyway, you're right. We're both right. We've been saying it for a while.
Get on the front foot, NRL.
Get on the front foot.
Yeah.
Nine, Fox, NRL, and it's easy for us to tell you to do all this work. We're not doing that at all. We just want what's best for everyone. So. If you can, please, because I think it'd be so good for the boys that do have to struggle with those last names and they're just trying to be polite, so they say it one way. Like, for example, Papali. For years, he didn't say it because he just wanted to be polite and didn't want to disrespect anyone.
Like, there's that interview with Brian Toto where I think it's Vossi says to him, is it Brian too? And he goes, no, but it's okay. Just because he's too polite.
Yeah, too polite.
Too much of a good fella.
I think it's... like in their heritage, it's almost like about respecting, like they're very respectful towards. So, yeah, anyway, back to the game. Tago or Tungo, he just goes about his work now, doesn't he? He's almost like a workhorse now, which is bizarre because he has the flash in him. But his consistency has been outstanding. I thought To'o really stood up. He's been a little bit quiet by his standards, if I'm being honest. And again, by his standards compared to everyone else, he's still running bloody 180 metres, 200 metres, but he was massive. 2 tries, 238 metres, 7 tackle breaks, a line break. He was absolutely so important for their go forward and, you know, just proving why he's a premier winger.
Just one thing I was thinking about the other day, like obviously when Penrith won that comp last year, the entire final series was dominated by their defence. Their attack wasn't that crash hot. I was just doing some quick maths then. I believe that in the finals last year, they scored a grand total of 42 points and won the comp. They scored 27 the other night in their first game back with their halfback.
I think this is their biggest finals win ever.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
I honestly think it's their biggest finals win ever. Could you check that if it is about? But I think I remember...
Well, it's definitely bigger than any score they had last year. It's double, I think, their best score they had last year, which is the grand final, essentially. So, yeah, if their attack is on, which it seemingly is...
Well, remember we discussed, I think, a few weeks ago how, you know, a couple of years ago, Penrith would come out and they'd blitz you first 20 minutes and their attack was just crazy. They get to the Storm Grand Final, they try and do that, doesn't work. Then they come out the next year and their attack's not even humming. It's almost like not that great, but they just bash teams. They win a grand final off defence. And that's what I'm scared with Cleary, scared in a good way of like, if he comes back and brings that attack on top of that defence, they almost become... Not almost. They become unbeatable, literally.
It's the second highest amount of points that this Penrith squad has scored in a game. They scored 29 against the Roosters in their first finals game a few years ago.
Really?
They won 29-28. Remember when...
Okay, but the margin-wise, it's the biggest margin.
Margin-wise, it's their biggest,
yeah. Wow.
Against a bloody good side too.
Yeah.
Full-strength Parramatta.
Yeah, and it's, again, don't let the score fool you. The first half was, you know, I thought it was Parramatta, the Eels that were dominating. Isaiah Yeo, just a real good, solid game. 36 tackles, 0 misses, 130 metres. Really interesting. I think Ivan Cleary deserves a bit of credit for this new phase of starting Mitch Kenny and bringing on Api Koroisau, because it's like almost like Api Koroisau is one of the best hookers in the comp. And so 9 out of 10 coaches are going, I'm getting him on the field as much as possible. But he is so confident in his players and also confident in his game plan. You know, he is starting Mitch Kenny to get through the brutal defence, and he was really good in defence on the weekend, and then bringing on Api to blow the game open, and it worked. It really worked.
Yeah, this is what I wanted Brad Fittler to do with the Blues during the year. I would have started Cook and have Api off the bench. I just think that when he comes on fresh, the way his ruck recognition and just even just the first 2 steps he takes out of dummy half every single time, he's an absolute fucking wizard, Api. I love what... Did you hear him talking in the press conference after?
No.
He sort of like... They sort of asked him about it. I don't know if he's just playing a straight bat or not, but he sort of played it down that it wasn't like a big ploy to do it. He just did it a few weeks ago, and I sort of thought, fucking bullshit.
Yeah, no,
bullshit, you did it a few weeks ago just to give him a little bit of a break. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you've come up against a massive pack here, and you've done the exact same thing.
I'm such a fan of how much Ivan has improved as a coach.
Yep.
In all aspects. The way he you don't hear a peep with him. The biggest drama we've heard with Cleary in regards to press conferences was with Wayne Bennett. And at the time we were all like, oh, Wayne, the old fox. But I'm not so convinced now that Ivan Cleary didn't fucking do that on purpose.
When you look at it in hindsight, it's completely different. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, Wayne's absolutely got him a special.
Smashed him here. Yeah. Like Ivan Cleary, how could you be so silly? You've been quiet all year, and then you come out, excuse me, then you come out before a grand final or whatever, and what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so at the time, I'm with you. I was sitting there going, Wayne has absolutely taken this younger coach to school. And now I look back on it and I'm going, with how shrewd this bloke has handled coaching, maybe he did, maybe he's playing the field a bit here. And he just, we never hear anything out of it. You know what I mean? Like Ivan Cleary is never in the papers for anything, and yet we're looking at one of the most dominant sides ever. And that's calculated in my opinion, and it's smart.
Yeah, and even the way he talks in press conferences, like he says what needs to be said, but the way that he says it isn't headline grabbing.
Yeah.
Like there's some sentences that he say that I'm like, for example, if Ricky Stewart said that in the tone that Ricky Stewart would say it, it'd be front page, it'd blow up. But just the way that Ivan delivers what he says, it's so impressive. And I can't wait. Now we've given Ivan Cleary 2 weeks to plan for his next game.
Yeah, I wonder, are we going to see something else happen before the finals? I don't know. You know, is he going to play
He'll plant a little something somewhere.
Plant a little seed somewhere again.
So I've just gone through every year. It is their biggest finals win. The closest was in 1990. So
again, we're not even talking about that. The Panthers just won their biggest ever finals against one of the favourites. Amazing. They're just such an incredible organisation. I feel so privileged to be able to watch this. What I'm so happy is that I got to watch the birth of it. You know, I was there at ground zero when people were absolutely tearing Ivan Cleary and Nathan Cleary to shreds. Very easy to forget that. It was, you were there as well. How crazy was the hate between, the hate of Ivan Cleary and Nathan Cleary initially?
It was crazy.
Crazy. You couldn't go a single post on Instagram without someone saying something about, they need to go and rah, rah. And now they are heroes, literally. Yeah, what a journey. What an incredible journey. Look, we'll speak about Nathan Cleary again quickly. We spoke a bit about the Origin stuff. This kid, he's not a kid, he's obviously 24 years old. He's got style, he's got substance, he's enjoyable to watch, he's tough, he's humble. We are so lucky to have a superstar like him. Like, you know, and again, I'm not having a crack at Joey at all. I loved the fact that Joey was a rogue. Like, please, let me be clear. But I think people would have made the connection. I'm not talking about Joey at all. I'm just saying that, like, if you wanted a clean-cut superstar as your 7, as your hero, like, Cleary is that, like, to a T. Very different to Joey. Joey was a rogue. And, again, I love that about Joey because it humanised him. It made him, I guess, like, one of us. Like, you know, oh, yeah, well, you make mistakes. He's fun. He parties. One of the boys, all kind of stuff. But, like, Nathan Cleary, okay, obviously he had his TikTok stuff. And, honestly, when we look back at that, seriously, who gives a shit? He is just such a perfect representation of the game. Diligent, works hard, tough, leader of men, takes criticism, bounces back when he struggles. Just incredible.
And I think the most underrated thing about him is that, you know, he's obviously got all the ability in the world. And the game the other night was a game where you saw all the highlights. But man, he got to the grand final last year and, you know, assessed pretty quickly, we're not going to score many points here. My kicking game just needs to be... It was a boring game for Nath Cleary. It was a tough, boring game, but he's just got that ability to win in so many ways, which is scary. And mate, my favourite thing about him, and it was why I love Joey and Freddie so much, his defence is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He whacks it. He defends like a back rower.
It's one of Joey's underrated things, I think.
Oh, mate, so underrated.
We always talk about Joey's... I would honestly say Joey, to this day, and probably forever, is the best ball player. Just his ability to create spaces and execute in these tight areas. Again, I'm not having been watching the game for 50 years, so apologies if there is someone before that. But I just have never seen anything like that. And so that's what we focus on a lot. You go back to that 2005 series, and you look at that inside ball to Budiris when he's looking like, comes back, steps back off his right, comes back and hits Budiris. And we focus on this incredible... But his defence was like, he would hit blokes.
Yeah.
He would hit blokes. Joey, what I would give to see him in the modern game.
Well, I always think like him and Freddie, like you could have put them in the back row and they would have been the best back rowers in rugby league at that time as well. Like that just...
What I'd give to see Joey in the modern game.
And that was the other thing with Joey, like he would, and I think it's what separates him from other halfbacks. Like if you compare him to a Cooper Cronk, for example, like Cooper, if his forward pack wasn't winning... Cooper could potentially kick them out of trouble. Mate, if Joey's forward pack wasn't winning, he'd get there in second tackle and say, get the fuck out of the way, I'll do it.
Mate,
and then they just get off the back of him and they go. And it's such a rare thing. And we've seen it with Nath over the years. There was a game against, I think it was the Cowboys last year where whenever Cohen Hess was on that big tear and he snapped him in half, 2 or 3 tackles in a row, and he's just got, and you can't, it's so hard to emulate when your halfback gets up and does something like that.
Yeah.
Like your forwards at that point look at each other and go, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
Our 7's doing our job.
Yeah.
We've got to lift now.
Absolutely. Man, like, he's 24. He's 24 or 25. Is he 24 or 25? He's 24 years old. And, like, there's a reason why guys like Joey and Freddie speak so highly of Cleary. Another thing Danica Mason said on her show with Joey. The show with Joey and Freddie and that, it's so good. It is so good. They're such fucking legends. Anyway, enough Joey and Freddie love. Jesus. But it's just so good to watch. And sometimes, like, they might be cruising, laughing a little bit, like having jokes from each other, and then they'll just flick into footy mode, and they'll just hit you with this fucking incredible, and you're going, holy, where did that come from? But yeah, Danica Mason just said on her show with Andrew Johns that Isaiah Yeo they were interviewing Isaiah Yeo, and they were like, oh, how's Cleary going? And they said, Cleary's actually been more dedicated. And they were kind of like, well, what do you mean? They said, Cleary's been cutting up footage of other teams and going to different players and going, look at this, look at this, look at this. And you're going, bruh, this guy's a 24-year-old cutting up footage for the other players. When I heard that, and this was a couple of days before the Penrith game, I was like, oh, I'm wrong. He doesn't need another game. This guy is in the fucking zone. Yeah, so amazing. Cleary's amazing. Panthers are amazing. What an incredible privilege it is to watch these guys play footy.
Just one last thing on Penrith. They're in the prelim for NRL. They're in the grand final for New South Wales Cup. They're in the prelim for Jersey Flag. They've already won the SG Ball. They could win all 4 grades.
And this is what I'm talking about. Like, the Melbourne Storm have done what they've done, and it's probably the best feat in Australian sport history. Like, to go down to Victoria, a non-rugby league state, and do what they have done over the last 23 years or 20 years roughly, is probably the greatest feat in Australian sport, or at least one of them. The scary thing is for the Panthers, they are in the heartland of rugby league. The heartland of rugby league with the best system in the comp right now. Right now. It is just scary to see where this club could end up. It's scary to see. Cleary could play for another 10 years and he'd only be hitting DCE's age now, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like, you look at DCE, you look at Cameron Smith, how old they played to. I mean, personally, I think that if their careers started 10, 15 years earlier than what it did, sports science wouldn't have got them to where they are today. I don't think they would have played as long as they have. Mate, think about what's going to happen over the next 10 years. Like, Nathan Cleary, we're saying he's got 10 years left. He could have 12 and 13 years left, realistically. He hasn't really had any major injuries as it stands right now. He's always going to be in a top shelf quality team. Like the way that the other thing with the Penrith Panthers is, like, whenever players get injured, they all return earlier than what we're told originally.
Their whole setup.
The whole setup is insane.
Yeah, like they barely have any long-term injuries. Like, they're the one club over the last 3 years that hasn't been absolutely decimated. There's another thing about Cleary that often gets forgotten. We have to remember, he needed a shoulder reconstruction last year before the grand final. He chose not to take it, rehab it naturally, won the grand final. Goes off, gets a shoulder reco, comes back, wins a minor premiership. Just, fuck, honestly, Penrith Panthers, incredible.
If you do get an opportunity and you're around at 1 p.m. this Saturday, Leichhardt Oval, the Roosters play the Panthers in the Jersey Flag. Is it the grand final, Matty, or not? Or is it?
No, I think this is to get into the...
Just getting in the grand final. Fuck, there are some stars in both those teams that you'll see over the next few years. That'll be a cracker.
Okay, now on to the next game. So I guess just to wrap that up, the Eels, it's do or die for a lot more than just this year. This is the window, and unfortunately, it might close. So this next week, if we don't see the game of their lives, I'll be surprised. But in saying that, the Raiders looking good because look, we've got the Storm Raiders. Really interesting. So the Storm open the match, essentially front-loading their forward pack. They bring on Cheese. They start Kamitha. Nelson moves to the edge. And I thought, that's really interesting. I wonder whether that's a sign of Bellamy is aware of how incredible the Raiders pack is, or I wonder whether it's Bellamy saying, I just want to win this first 20 and then hopefully we just, push them off the park, blow them off the park. But to be honest, they came out, they did probably dominate that first 10 to 20 and the Raiders just hung on. And the Raiders get an incredible win away at the Storm. Yeah, incredible by the Raiders. They obviously scored the first try. Who was it? Matty Tomoko. He went down the right edge and he put one of the great palms on Cam Munster. Oh, yeah. That was unbelievable. And obviously that play was started by Joey Tapine going into contact, finding Jack. A great little play there. And then the momentum just turned completely. The Melbourne Storm had a set where they had an offload. I think they got a penalty off the back of it. They forced a line drop out. And then you had Xavier Coates. What about Coates, the poor bastard? Scored 3 tries and his season finished. I don't see that very often. Yeah. But he scored his first try, and then Jerome Hughes put in that pinpoint kick to him as well, which was unbelievable. And at that point, I sort of thought, in Melbourne, the momentum's completely turned here. The Raiders are going to do very well to wrestle this back in. Incredible that they got themselves back into it, let alone won by more than a score. Yeah. And they were, down 20 to 16 with 10 to go or something? Something along those lines, yeah. It was... And that try that really got them back into it. Yeah, 15 to go. The Jamal Fogarty one off the scrum, obviously Nick Mooney playing out of position sort of got picked out a little bit in this game. But, I said to you on the weekend, I think that's the softest try the Melbourne Storm have ever conceded in finals footy. Yeah, in finals footy. It was. Nothing comes to mind that was worse. We'll talk about Storm first then. They're just to think that they're out first week of the finals. And what's also something that will probably get lost in the noise is like if they beat the Eels, they finish 4th and they get another crack.
Yep.
So this is loss.
Yeah, well, it's essentially 2 sudden death games they've lost in a row.
Yeah, in a row. Just unfortunately, and I don't take any happiness in saying this, but I really think that when we spoke about the dynamic nature of their forward pack, I just don't think they had the same dynamic forward pack across the board that the Raiders did. They had Nelson on an edge who was destructive. Seriously, you almost got to keep him there in my opinion. He is just so hard to handle. Then you had Cheese in the middle, but like outside of that, I just don't know if they have that explosive nature the same as, you're dealing with the front row pairing of Tarpanay and Papali'i it's super explosive. It's super mobile. Then you've got obviously Hudson Young. You've got Adam Elliott. And so I just wonder with the Storm, they haven't really recruited that much in the middle. I'm just not sure what's going to happen next year for the club. And I again, before the game, I said I was worried about their forward pack and just see if they were young and mobile enough. And I think that at times they did get a little bit outdone by the young explosive Tarpanay, young Papali'i.
And I mean, you have a look at the team they're going to run out with in round 1 next year. Based on that game on the weekend, they're going to be without Jesse Bromwich, their front rower, Felice Kafusi, Kenny Bromwich, Brandon Smith.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
And, I mean, who comes to mind for you that's going to be the young guys that are going to step up into those roles?
I honestly got no idea.
You got Tariq Sims coming down there. He'll fill a role, but he's not the guy that's going to turn the tide against a Tapanay or Papali'i. And the reality is, a lot of teams have players like them. Maybe not as good, but every team has those explosive sort of guys. And Melbourne have Nas. There's no doubt about that. They will get Christian Walsh back, which will help.
He was sorely missed. So
massive.
Yeah, I've got to give Storm their due. Like, didn't get talked about enough much. Well, did to a degree, but like the loss of Christian Welsh and also the loss of Remus Smith, the Jennings loss, the 15 injury Pappenhausen lost. Yeah. So it's not I guess panic stations as a club or anything. Because they did go through so much this year. But I agree, man. I'm just a bit concerned about their forward pack.
And I mean, like, every year we get to the end of the season and we go, okay, they've unearthed Nico Hines. He's going to be the next superstar. Ryan Pappenhausen, Scott Drinkwater. Who have they found this year? I mean, we haven't really seen anyone that's come and burst onto the scene. They've got young Jack Howarth, who I think credit to the Melbourne Storm, and something that I didn't really think about in the preseason, but talking to one of their guys the other day, like, because of COVID, Howarth, this was his first ever season playing against men.
Okay.
So they've kept him in reserve grade all year to give him that opportunity to actually play against grown men. And mate, the control of the Melbourne Storm not to pick him at any point this year, just to see what happens. Yeah. Very impressive. But, he'll come in, but he still hasn't played a game of first grade yet. I don't know how it's going to play out. Just on Nelson, mate, I understand bringing him in, playing on edge. He's so destructive. Me personally, I could not believe they put him up against Jack Whiten and Hudson Young. I would have put him on the other side against Whitehead and Jamal Fogarty. Fogarty's the guy to go to in that Canberra Raiders defensive line, in my opinion. I reckon he would have been stoked when he saw Nassers on the other side of the field. Yeah,
it was interesting because, like, Hudson Young and Whiten, like, they're two of the most aggressive edges in the comp.
Yeah. And like, granted,
he still went really well.
Yeah, that like on stats, I think those two combined for about 11 missed tackles or whatever. But at no point did I really think, okay, Nass being there has got the better of these two. Like, Hudson Young loved it.
Yeah, he did love it. Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know where I stand with the Storm because it's like, is it a lack of depth in the forward pack, or is it the fact that they were missing 4 or 5 of their starters? So they're Pappenhausen, Jennings, Smith, Welsh.
Yeah.
That's 4. Who else are they missing?
No, I think, is that it? Is there who else?
Probably missing someone. But anyway, so 4 starters, pretty rough. Like, for example, if you're the Raiders and you take out, who would be the equivalent? You take out Papali'i, you take out Chris. I mean, they're not as, it's hard. There's no one for
it's
one.
Hard because it's not like for like.
It's not like for like
teams, but it's still massive outs for the Melbourne Storm, no doubt about it. But I understand where you're coming from. They had those guys out, or are they lacking forward depth? I like, if you said to me, gave me a piece of paper and gave me 20 opportunities to write down what the Melbourne Storm pack would look like round 1 next year. There's a good chance I don't get it right on any of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
No idea what it's going to look like.
I don't know. And I was watching a little bit of the Falcons game yesterday. I think they've got a big front rower that came off the bench, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, there's no, for example, with the Panthers, you could go, okay, well, Spencer Lenu, like long term, Spencer Lenu is going to take over that role of Fisher Harris. Whereas the Storm, I'm just a bit concerned in regards to.
And like, you even have a look at their bench. Like, they had Chris Lewis and is it Trent Liero?
Liero?
They played 17 and 14 minutes in that game. Like, that sort of says to me that Craig Bellamy's not convinced these are the guys to step into big 80-minute roles next year either. But I personally think the loss of Brandon Smith is going to be massive. It's going to be huge. You obviously you lose his momentum and everything, but if Harry Grant goes down at any point, which Harry Grant unfortunately has shown throughout his early career that he can go down with an injury, it's going to leave a huge hole at 9 as well.
So just for reference, Eisenhuth, Iramea, George Jennings, Pappenhausen, Reema Smith, and Christian Welsh were all like out for the year.
I'm probably looking at Eisenhuth as a starting back row for them next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the... I just don't know where I stand. I really don't. Like, the Storm... Because the thing is, even if they had those players in, do they take it to the best teams? Like, would they still win a premiership? Because that's what they're in the business of, winning premierships. They're not in the business of, going to the prelim or whatever. I mean, look, they probably do. Pappenhausen's absolutely gigantic, like such a big loss for them. So I'm unsure. I just want to give credit where credit is due, and it's the injuries that we have to say the amount of injuries they had.
I also think just on this, like Nelson, this year of him becoming the main guy. Next year, when Christian Welsh returns, he'll be the number 1 front row. I think Nelson's a better sort of number 2. Personally, I think this year will do a lot for him moving forward because he has cut a lot of, he still has got errors in his game, but he's cut a lot out from the start of the year, sort of because he was forced to this season.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Christian Welsh is a massive, massive out and help. It's going to be, I mean, the Storm will do it. They always do it. Now, we've got to speak about it. Meaney at 6. I don't know how I feel about this because I feel like Munster to fullback was the right call, but unfortunately, Meaney at 6 in defence, unfortunately it was a big, you could argue, a big player in how they played. What do you reckon? Would you reckon it was the wrong call and they should have put Munster at 6? That would mean we're wrong? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. It's as much like I said it weeks ago that Cam Munster had to move to 1, and I think they needed to do it to be a chance in this competition, considering all their injuries. And fair enough, everyone said the next question was, but who the hell's going to play 6? I probably wouldn't have gone for Nick Meaney at 6. I probably would have gone for Cooper Johns, but I don't think that solves the problem that they had on the weekend. And this, we come back to it once again. You think over the last few years, that they could have played Hines there, they could have played Drinky. They just don't have that next absolute superstar coming through. So I don't know. I think it's easy to say it was a mistake, but I also just don't think the Melbourne Storm would have got close to where they have got to this year if they wouldn't have moved Munster to fullback a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's easy to say after this game, and it was, you shouldn't have moved Munster there, but I don't think anyone could have foreseen that Meaney would struggle as much as he did in this game, specifically in defence. Like, it hasn't been an issue the last few weeks. So I still believe the Munster to fullback was the right decision. I really do. They just needed that energy at the back there. Otherwise, where would they get their spark from?
And as well, credit to the Canberra Raiders. Nick Meaney still made 25.
Yeah. They targeted him. They targeted him.
It was 32 times they went at him. Whereas you look at Jerome Hughes, he made 15 and missed 1. Credit to the Canberra Raiders. They came, and I thought that play that Elliot Whitehead scored off was just perfect. We're tapping A.
Great.
Everything lined up perfectly for them on that play, and it sounds so easy to, have a 2-man to get on the inside shoulder of your halfback, but teams are trying to do that every single week and not able to pull it off.
Yeah.
So credit to them, and tough night for Nick Meaney. But I think we all agree he's not a 5'8", but I just think he was the best 5'8" for the situation.
Yeah. One area I think the Storm, I guess, I feel like I have to constantly disclaimer each thing because of the injuries. But let's just say I acknowledge injuries exist. But like when you look at their kick meters, 196 Munster, it's 140 Hughes. And I know I compare that to the Hineses. I compare that to the Townsends. I compare that to the Clearys. I wonder whether, even Jamar Fogarty and Whiten essentially doubled, maybe even tripled their numbers. They got up to, we'll just call it even, 600 together. Whereas, you're looking at 300 basically, 340
It's a lot
for the Storm. So you're nearly doubling. And I wonder, is that a concern for them going forward? Do they need to work on their kicking game, long kicking game a little bit? And look, Munster is we know how good Munster is. There's really no weakness in his game. But is the game heading in that direction where you need at least one guy that can kick long and kick well?
Yeah, and I think it's one thing that, I'm one of the biggest Jerome Hughes fans, so are you. But I think it is probably the one thing, if you had to pick something in Jerome Hughes' game that you would look to improve, it probably is his long kicking game as well.
But I'd argue, in his defence, his running game is better than any other seven in the comp.
Yep.
So there's areas where he's better. But I agree. I think that, we're judging the Storm by winning comps, not by getting bounced out the first week of it. So you might sit there and go, are you serious? Like questioning Hughes and Munster? But we're saying we want them winning comps. Like this is a premiership winning team. But that's a big concern for me, the fact that they could kick for so little. And then you go and look at, Cleary and his kick for 600, Hines his kick for 700. That's something that they can it would definitely help their game. Another issue is their completion rate, 70% completion. Very it's not unstorm-like because the new Storm is different to the pre-2016-17 Storm. But again, if you want to win finals matches, you've got to be up at least in the 75 to 80, at least.
Yeah, it's crazy how much this year we've found ourselves using the word un-Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been one of those seasons.
Yeah.
And, mate, even now sitting here, I'm hesitant to say.
I feel weird. That's why I keep, disclaimering, because I'm just like, but the injuries, and we're talking about the Storm here, you fucking idiot. Like, it's the Storm. But we have to call a spade a spade. Like, 6 weeks ago, we were about, I don't know, I think the Storm might be out. They came back, they fought back and put some big games on, and then had a few people saying, you guys are wrong, they're back. And we were like, you know what? Yeah, they are back. But I think that Pappenhausen going down was kind of like the final straw for them.
Yeah. I never thought they were going to, I never thought they were going to win the comp, but I definitely thought they'd win this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I tipped him to win this game, but it was almost like 50-50 for me because of the Raiders' run. So, look, we're talking about the Melbourne Storm here. Yeah, extremely disappointing year. But I still have them as a premiership threat next year. Like, they haven't dropped any further down in my rankings of teams because of this season. I do chalk a lot of what happened up to the fact that they had the most injuries of any team in the competition. One little concern is recruitment at the moment. But outside of that, I still think that they are one of the heavyweights of the competition. Yeah,
and I also think it will be interesting, like as far as recruitment and everything goes. Like it'll be interesting to see once November 1st comes and different guys are negotiating, and then you got this World Cup where you got all these players getting together from different clubs and everything. It'll be interesting to see the dominoes that do fall over this off season.
Yeah, and you'd say Munster's going to be sorted before the start of the next season. So, now on to the Raiders. Ricky's Raiders. The Milk. Look, I said their season had turned around mid-year, but I did not see this coming because, as we spoke about earlier this episode, although it is still a long shot, they're no longer a team making up numbers. I think 2 weeks ago, a lot of people felt the Raiders were they're making up the numbers in the 8. I think it'd be crazy to say they're making up the numbers now. I really do. Now, are they the favourite to win the comp? No, but they are a threat. They are an absolute threat to any team they play, and they're on the side of the draw with winnable games.
Yeah, mate, I'm looking at the 4 teams that are going to be playing this weekend coming. I think the Raiders are the last team I want to play. I think there's arguably the 3 other teams have been better all year, but this Raiders team, they're so hard to handle. Like, how on earth do you stop those middles? Then you got guys with Whitehead and Hudson Young and Adam Elliott. Every single one of their forwards has got leg speed. They can all pass. They can all offload. And I think the scariest thing is that I think they've all realised how good they are as well.
Yeah, confident. They're just starting to believe again that they're the forward pack that we all thought they were.
And then they've got Jack, who, he can beat any team on his own on any given week. And then Fogarty, you know what you're going to get every single week out of Fogarty, and he's just the compass that they need. He's not a superstar. He's not going to blow you away with a Nathan Cleary or a Hines performance. But similar to like a Chad Townsend, he's just going to get his kicks right every time. He's going to get them to the right spots. I don't know. I've just got a feeling at the moment that the Raiders, they're not going to beat themselves. Whereas previously, well, this entire year, it's sort of been like you're waiting for the Raiders to beat themselves.
Yeah, just to fall apart in the second half or something like that.
Mate, I reckon they're they're $2.60 against Parramatta this week. I reckon that's great value for a team playing with house money that's confident.
With nothing to lose, everyone's against us.
Everyone's against them.
This is already a big win for a season. I think Raiders fans would be happy if they, how
much pressure's on Parramatta this week?
Mate. And also, we don't know if Mitch Moses is playing.
I honestly think coming into this game, this is exactly where the Canberra Raiders want to be, and it's the last fucking spot in the world Parramatta want to be.
It's, man. What a thrilling ride, Raiders fans. What a thrilling ride. Like, how enjoyable to see this dark horse just rise up out of nowhere, go on a crazy run. History has to be made for them to make the 8. Then they go down to Melbourne and become the first team ever to beat them 5 in a row down at Melbourne. No, I think the biggest run outside of that was like Bulldogs, like 3 in a row or something like that. They've now beaten them 5 times in a row down at Melbourne. Tarpanair for me is just... he's more than just the most complete front row I've ever seen, because if you need him to do the hard work, he'll do the hard work. He'll run it straight hard, he'll get to his front and play you the ball. If you need to get through a bunch of tackles, he'll do that. If you need him to ball play, he'll do that. If you need him to break a game completely open that usually is reserved for outside backs and maybe wide running forwards, he can do that. He has got the most weapons I might have seen in a long time as a front rower. Now, that's not saying he's the best front rower I've seen ever. What I'm saying is I can't remember a front rower that has this many weapons. I'm trying to think maybe Papali'i in his prime, maybe a Junior Paulo in his prime. But again, I just don't know whether they had this kind of agility that he has, the way he can move across the field. He is absolutely incredible, and the Raiders should be... I don't think they've locked him up officially yet. They should be locking him up for 5 years.
For sure. And, I remember sitting here probably 2 years ago and thinking, is Josh Papali'i going to be, in the top 2 front rows of the Canberra Raiders? Either it's Glenn Lazarus and waiting for someone to jump in. And probably 18 months ago, I thought, you know what, it's Josh Papali'i. He's the guy. Are you looking at Tapane now? If he keeps doing what he's doing,
if he keeps doing it, if he does this for another 4 or 5 years, holy shit!
And that's the scary thing. Like, he started as this explosive edge player that could do all these things, a little bit inconsistent. Josh was exactly the same.
Guess where he came from?
Where is it?
Newcastle.
Tapane, he did too. Yeah. Another one.
Sorry, Newey fans, had to just...
I forgot about that. Yeah. Fuck.
Ouch. That hurts.
It hurts heaps.
You're right, by the way. November 1, he can start talking.
Yeah. There'll be dominoes to be falling.
Do you agree in regards to weapons? Like, I'm not saying he's the greatest front row I've ever seen, and I'm not saying ever, but in recent memory, just the amount of things he can do.
Yeah, when you first said it, I was thinking in my head going, there must be someone better, but I've been thinking about it for a couple of minutes now and I can't
Just
really...
like the range of weapons.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, the front row position has changed a lot over the last 15 years. Like, you look back to, and like, this is with all due respect to them, but the game has changed so much. Like, the skill set that the average front rower has now, your Webkes, your Sivanasivas, these guys, like, they didn't come anywhere near it.
Yeah, no.
It was a different game then.
The game has improved so much, like the quality. Like, Tarpanair, he has the skill of almost a centre sometimes.
Yeah.
But he's got the footwork of a centre sometimes. Like, you could play him on an edge and he would be just as at home there as he is in the front row. And also his strength. I can't believe, like, every time he runs the ball, I think, he's a bit off balance here. He's going to get put on his back or he's going to get driven back, but he just never does. It's absolutely amazing. And look, yes, it is a short, I guess. I mean, he's been doing this for maybe, a year and a half now, I'd say. He's really picked up the pace this year. So he's got many, many years to be set in the same breath as the greats. There's no denying that. But just in regards to if he can keep this standard, the world is his voice. Like, he can be whatever he wants to be. He can seriously go down as one of the better forwards we've seen.
How old is he?
I think he's 28. So it's taken him a while to get here, for sure. But, mate, he was the difference on the weekend. He was the difference. Like, Papali'i came back on in that second half and was amazing. But when the Raiders were under the pump and they didn't seem like they were going to find points, all of a sudden, he just goes, boom, crazy offload in the middle of the field. Whiten goes up the middle. But then also, he was the guy that hit the Whitehead ball, didn't he?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Like, that's ball playing a hooker does.
Yep.
Absolutely phenomenal. Seriously. And look, if he goes back next year and he just starts playing solid again, it'll be one of the great little runs of form we've seen. Seriously, I just cannot remember a front rower with this many different weapons in the duffel bag.
Yeah, and as we said, the game has changed so much over the last 10 or 15 years, and I think that who would you say is the guy that sort of changed the mould? Would it have been Payne Haas that first sort of started to...
Oh, man, that's a tough one.
I remember the first time I ever spoke to you, you came on my podcast and we were talking about Payne Haas, and he was doing things that we'd just never seen before. And we were sort of sitting there going, we're never going to see another Payne Haas. And, we then had a conversation about, like, at the moment, he's the only one we've seen, but more and more of these guys will start to follow.
Yeah.
And when you go back, like obviously, I watch a lot more junior football, than most. But like you see, obviously, don't need to tell you that twice. But when you watch these young front rowers that are coming through now, like, mate, if you're a Shane Webke style front rower, good fucking luck.
Really? So it's just
not enough anymore.
Yeah,
it's simply not. You have to be able to ball play. You have to have an offload. You have to have late footwork.
See, that's I guess the one thing with Payne that I would say that he probably ball playing isn't that great yet. I just think the thing that we never saw before with Payne Haas was a guy that's a giant like him with the motor that he has. Yeah. But you're right. Like even guys like Junior Paulo, Papali'i, like these guys have ball playing.
Even guys that we don't talk about that much as far as ball playing goes, like James Fisher-Harris. If you would have dropped him in the game 15 years ago,
that would have been like...
It would have been like, oh my God, what is he doing? How has he got this skill set?
Adam Fanor-Blake's another one. Great footwork, can ball play.
There was just no, like... There was a brief period in 2005 where the Tigers had a bit of ball playing in there.
Yeah, but that was small though.
That was small, very small. And of course, that year they made a signing of getting Todd Payton to come to the team. He's a great ball player forward in his day. And now you're seeing that starting to come into Taumalolo's game as well. But yeah, it's happening. I'm hesitant to say it all the time, but he is doing stuff that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, and again, we're talking just specifically about now in this form. We're not saying that put him in the same bracket as a Webke or a Petro. Just saying like this year of footy as a front rower, we don't see front rowers doing flick passes for a try assist and then also getting out, drawing it, making a three defender turn in and hitting short balls. Like we just don't really see it that much.
And if you took him out of the game on the weekend, in my opinion, they 100% lose that game.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Name me another, like we saw Payne Haas come out of the Broncos team during the season. Wasn't really a huge drop-off. Obviously, Pat Carrigan, we saw when him went out, there was a huge drop there. But
he came back and we still played poor.
He still didn't improve out of sight. I think Tapine, would you say he's got the greatest influence on a football team as a front rower right now?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I'm trying to think of games without Fisher-Harris, but it'd be up there. Put it this way, it'd be up there. And I think that like the broader audience of rugby league probably don't appreciate Tapine right now. I think it's like the guys that are Raiders fans and guys like us that really watch rugby league. We're sitting here going, Tapine is literally the form front row of the competition, and it's one of the great runs of form. It really is. Like think about it. They made the 8. A lot of it was to do with Tapine's form.
Yeah.
Like it was to do with him playing really good footy.
And it's not like he's been playing good for half a year. He was the best player in the All-Stars game.
Yeah, killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he killed it. So it's what's really surprising is like it's come so late. 28, 27 years old. He's shown flashes of brilliance before. And maybe it's just the age-old thing of like front rowers usually take a while to mature. That's another thing for Payne Haas that we were surprised at. He was like 19 years old and doing this shit in the front row. That was another thing. So, yeah, incredible Tapine. Outside of that, Papali'i's second stint was outstanding. Hudson Young, once again, the game's on the line. A play needs to be made. Boom. He absolutely nails it. That was not an easy put down. Matter of fact, that was a tough put down, even for a winger. And he got that put down.
Yeah.
I loved his aggression. I loved the fact that every time Nelson got the ball, Hudson Young was somewhere in the vicinity sniffing for him.
Didn't he just love that?
Yeah.
That challenge?
Loved it.
He was just all for it.
Just, he's got to be in the squad.
I think he's locked in now. I can't see a world where they don't pick him.
Do you think, because like, I think Mel Meninga has come out and said that Sean Lane and Young were in the mix.
Yep.
But he's only going to select one. Could you check that for me, please, Matty? Do you think that, Lane being a little bit quiet on the weekend, Young playing really well, he's played himself into that front role?
Well, I mean, they play each other this week. So
Oh, yeah. Are they on the same edge?
yes, they... No, they're not.
No, they're not. Opposite edges.
Opposite edges. But still, I can guarantee you Hudson will be well and truly.
He'll find a way to get across there.
Yes. Yeah, I think it'll be Hudson. I think at the moment they'll probably go with Crichton, Arrow, Liam Martin, Hudson, and there'll be another 2 spots.
Oh, I just want to do a quick shout out. Remember how I was like, man, Kurt Catewell's form towards the end of the year, just falling off tackles. He needed a shoulder reconstruction.
Of course he did. And as we said a few weeks ago, the amount of these guys that are playing injured that you would have no idea about is insane.
Yeah. So, I think I did at one stage say it looks like he's injured or something's going on because he is not anywhere near his best. Needed a shoulder reconstruction. So, Broncos fans, I guess, cut Kurt a little bit of slack. He could have got that shoulder reconstruction at any stage. He played through it. Yeah.
So the article said that only one is expected to make the cut, but there's that wasn't quoted by Mel.
That wasn't quoted, but he was quoted saying they're in the
both
mix.
in the mix. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So look, Hudson, I think he's got to be in the squad. I really do. I think if he was playing at any Sydney club, he'd be getting so much hype. But because he's down in Canberra, he's just not getting the hype that he did. I mean, he's getting hype now because of, we talk about him a lot.
It was a good little Ricky Stewart impersonation there, just quietly.
What? Oh, yeah.
He's playing for anyone else.
Yeah, playing for anyone else. Blah, blah, blah. Look, Sebastian Tomokos try, incredible. We've already spoken about that, but I just thought that was a really good moment to let the wider NRL public know, like, this kid's a goer. He's a goer, and he's a young, good centre. I thought Savage, although he didn't set the world alight, I thought he did a lot of had some good moments of coverage. I thought he was really safe at the back. I think he only had one error. So although he wasn't absolutely killing it, all the little things that he needed to do right, he did right. And again, that's a good show of maturity. I want to talk about Fogarty for a bit. Again, it is just so undeniable. A good, steady 7 is needed in today's game.
And he's probably the guy that's flown under the radar as far as this conversation goes. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think he was as good as what people were saying at the start of the year. And then you saw the Canberra Raiders, how they started the season, and Schneider came in, did a good job, but you could tell it just wasn't enough. I think that how the Canberra Raiders have improved in the back end of the season since he came back has been criminally underrated. It's been so underappreciated. And I think the other thing with Fogarty you got to remember is he's done it without a preseason as well.
Yeah. Just the amount of times in that game where they stayed calm, got to their kick chase, then they went again, stayed calm, got to their kick chase. Then he goes over for that try, which was a crucial try, got them back into the game. It is absolutely crazy that he was let go by the Gold Coast Titans. And I'm happy for Jamal because he's now playing finals footy. He's in the second week of finals footy. He may go to a prelim. And the good thing about Fogarty is that this pairing with Wyden is just getting started. This is just the first year. Matter of fact, it's not even a year. He's been playing for half a year with Wyden.
I mean, it's no shock when you have a look at this entire, all the 6 teams that are left, they've all been teams that have had their halves, their entire spine essentially sorted from round 1. They all knew it was going to be. Obviously, the Raiders have had to make changes because of injuries, but they knew Fogarty was always going to be their guy. The Bunnies, they've stuck with Elias the entire season. It's all paid dividends. The Sharkies, obviously stuck with their halves. The rest of even the Cowboys, I thought the Cowboys were crazy not to play Drinkwater at 6 at the start of the year. Todd Payton chose his guys, he stuck with them, and you've got these 6 teams left at the end. Whereas you look on the other side of the park, you have got the Melbourne Storm, who, granted with injuries, but they had to chop and change their spine the entire year. Roosters, chopped and changed there, 7-6 all year, didn't quite ever find, well, I think at the back end they found what they needed, but credit to these 6 sides.
Well, I mean, look at Raiders. They're not even settled on their spine. Savage is a rookie, and Zach Wolford has been in and out.
Yeah.
So I'm quite excited about the Raiders' future. I really am. If they can nail down that 9 position, Savage gets more experience, all of a sudden you have this core of a side. I will say, we've been pushing for Adam Elliott at 13 for so long. I will say I'm just a bit worried how they get a good 13 to replace Adam Elliott.
Yeah.
I think he'll be missed.
And I think, I don't know for sure, but I know that he's going for scans today on that injury. If he's ruled out, I think you'll they'll be a very different team without him.
Yeah, he just gets through so much work.
He'll be a huge loss coming into this game.
Yeah. What an incredible win by the Raiders. And just Ricky Stewart, his ability to turn this club around. They went 1 from 7 to start the year. They come out. They are now in the 2nd week of the finals. Absolutely incredible. I also want to give a quick shout out Corey Horsburgh. I thought he was really good when he come on. Got through a mountain of work. Just brought energy. Just exactly what you want your bench player to do. Come on, get through a bunch of work, bring that energy, lift the boys up, and he did his job outstanding.
I think that if he was on the other team, you got a very different football game. Because they really lacked someone like him coming off the bench, the Melbourne Storm. Someone like him coming off the pine for them, I think it would have been very different. But, yeah, obviously we're speaking about, as you said, replacing someone at 13. I would assume, if I'm the Raiders, they did start this season with Elliott Whitehead in the 13. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that again next year, which you'll probably see CHN start on an edge. So I'd much rather have Adam Elliott. Don't get me wrong, it'll be a big loss, but they can cover it pretty nicely.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a great forward pack. And as we said, that spine's only just getting started. So amazing stuff, Raiders fans. Congratulations. What an incredible season. Even if they lose next week, what a year. What a year. And what exciting times at the club. Exciting times.
Great time for Timmy to take a holiday. Absolutely.
Yeah. We didn't. Sorry, guys. Off the top, Timmy's away, but he will be back next week. What's up, guys? Before we get back to the footy chat, make sure to grab a case of Bloke Midi. We're now in every single Liquor Legends. Go to liquorlegends.com.au, put in your postcode. It will show you your nearest stockist. And OG Bloke is in every single Celebrations, Bottle-O, IGA Plus Liquor, and Porter's Liquor in New South Wales and ACT. Plus, it's in every single Celebrations Superstore in Queensland. Also, we're in plenty more stores. You go to blokeinabar.com, you put in your postcode, it will show you your nearest Bloke stockist. Now on to the Sharkies Cowboys. What an absolutely amazing game. I can't believe I cannot believe how good it was. And I cannot believe for how long it went. 91, 92 minutes. I cannot believe both sides played outstanding. It was definitely one of those games where you're like, both sides deserve to win. Both sides deserve to win. Both had stars, both had big moments, both were gritty, mentally tough. It was almost just a bounce of a ball that was the difference that separated them. What did you think about Sharkies Cowboys, Guru?
I agree with you, mate. I don't think either team deserved to lose this one, and it was so close, but the ramifications of this game, the gap is just so big where these two teams sit now. To have to back up 93 minutes, the Sharkies, and take on the Bunnies this week is going to be incredibly tough. And I thought the battle of the forwards was crazy. You look through all the stats and everything, I thought Taumalolo and Ruben Cotter, I think they both featured in our teams of the week. They were immense. And then you look at, over at the other side of the park, the Sharkies, Cam McInnes, Dale Finucane, Rudolph got through so much work. This was, I can't believe this wasn't the game of the week, to be honest with you. It's crazy that this game was played. I think you could have shoved this Sharks-Cowboys game into just about any week of final series ever, and it's probably game of the week.
Yep.
Outside of this weekend, because South Roosters just pulled a game from another planet, essentially.
Yeah, it had everything. It was entertaining. It wasn't boring. It wasn't like a grind fest like 12-6 or 6-all. Had plenty of points, but the points didn't come just like willy-nilly. They were earned by really high-quality plays. Like Nico Hines' smooth play out the back is just some of the best. Nico Hines' first 25 minutes, he had try-saving tackle. He had a dropout where they got the ball back and then a try assist. That's in his first ever finals game as a 7.
I think that's what people forget as well. It's his first ever finals game as a halfback, and he came up with that sort of performance. I mean, we mentioned before that if Joe Tapine wasn't there for the Canberra Raiders, and if Nico Hines wasn't there for the Sharks, Cowboys win that 13+. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, he was absolutely incredible. He was absolutely, 3 try assists.
Yeah.
3 try assists in his first finals at home, all the pressure in the world on him, nails it.
And as much as it sucks for Sharkies not winning, fuck, you know who your guy's going to be for the next 5 to 10 years, that when the bright lights are on and you're on the big stages, he's the guy that you can turn to. And there's not many of those guys in the competition.
Yeah.
Cronulla's got one of them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He is, honestly, he's probably the bargain of the year, signing-wise. The bargain of the year.
Yeah, I personally, I think he probably is the signing of the year. Chad Townsend's been unbelievable for the Cowboys, but I would also take into consideration that Nico Hines, he's going to be a signing for the next 10 years potentially.
And by all reports, though, we have to remember he's a superstar now. Before, he was a guy that was on the bench for the Storm and getting in there because of injury. And when he signed with the club, it was like 500 to 600K. That's the reported now. So you look at like Townsend, you look at Reynolds, like they're all up around the 700 to 800K mark, established. We know how good they are, premiership winning. We're talking about a Hines that, yes, it is the Storm and any other team he's starting, but he's on the bench playing fullback, signing for 500, 600K. Like, I honestly reckon right now, after the way he's played here, there are some clubs that pay $1 million for him.
Oh, mate, for sure.
Like, for sure.
Without a doubt. And, call me crazy, I'm still not actually convinced that halfback is his absolute best position.
Really? Yeah.
He's a fantastic halfback,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, but if something happened that the Sharkies managed to sign a quality 7 and they brought him in and Nico Hines moved to fullback, would it overly surprise you if he even played better at fullback than he did at 7?
Yeah. I would go like maybe 6 is his best position.
Yeah.
But I can see what you're saying. Like, if you just said, Hines, you don't even have to worry about any getting around the park. All you have to worry about is attack. And also, we're going to give you the ball one wider for more. In saying all of that, he's so good at 7. I just... Oof.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I would never move him again now.
Yeah.
But that's how talented this guy is. Like, if the Sharks said he's going to be our fullback round 1 next year, I straight away go, okay, he is a top 5, potentially 3 fullback straight away for me. He is just that fucking talented. It's not even funny. And that game the other night, his first finals game as, the chief playmaker in a side, unbelievable. I thought the combination that him and Matt Moylan have pulled, you can talk more about it. Like, the amount of times that I imagine these guys must spend at training with those passes they do where Matt Moylan gets the ball and he's passing to Hines there, and Hines is standing there.
Yeah, and he just he's not even looking. He just
and he just
shovels
floats
it back
in the air. The trust and the faith they've got in each other is crazy. Like, I still remember 10 years ago when Cooper Cronk did that pass to Billy Slater in the grand final, and just thinking, that's 10 years of hours upon hours of knowing each other's game and trusting each other. These blokes have been together for less than a year. And they're doing it in finals footy consistently. Yeah. Not only on the trial, they're doing it halfway too.
Their attack is so slick. It's so slick. And his repertoire, he can do out the back plays. He can do long balls. He can hit short balls. His defence is severely underrated. Like, he's had multiple one-on-one try-saving tackles on the line with a big wide running forward running at him. He's got an incredible story. He's so marketable. He's the find of the season. And it sounds bizarre because you're like, yeah, but do you remember what he did at the Storm? He was incredible. Yeah, for sure. But I think we're tainted by what he's achieved this year. I don't think anyone, not a single person in the game, could have predicted that he would be this good by the end of the year. Whereas, like, most people, if you said Chad Townsend's going to take Cowboys to second, you'd be like, well, he is a premiership winner. So, Reynolds is going to make them fight for finals footy. Yeah, I can see that. Hines is going to be arguably one of the, Probably Dally M.
He's my Dally M.
Oh, he's my Dally M for sure. Like Benny Hunt, although fantastic, Hines, they're in finals.
Put it this way, if Hines was playing 5'8" for the Melbourne Storm right now, we're still talking about them as premiership contenders, in my opinion.
For sure. Oh, yeah, I agree. If you had Hughes, Hines, and Munster at fullback, like wowzers. He is amazing, and just his impact on the game and just how active he is. Like, he's in everything. He has so many touches. He must be super, super fit. Yeah, what an amazing game by Nicho Hines. And we just said all of that. About try assists, the tackles, the try-saving tackles, his pass selection, his repertoire of passes. He kicked for 751 metres. 751 metres.
And, like, on top of that, the crazy thing is, and, I said it in the week leading up to it, and anyone could have pointed it out, obviously, like, he was always going to kick that much. The Cowboys knew the entire week Nicho Hines was going to do 80 to 90% of their kicking. They kicked the ball on 27 occasions. He kicked it 24 times.
Far out.
So not only is he, and when he left the Melbourne Storm, when the Cronulla Sharks signed him, I wasn't like, they've signed a noted kicker here.
No.
At all.
No way.
The Cowboys knew all week who was going to kick every single fucking time. And, I think there was one he got charged down. There was one that he put about 10 or 15 metres short that had a bit of impact on the game. But outside of that, he was tremendous the entire time.
It's just amazing.
I think it's one of the best performances by a losing player in finals ever.
Yeah, I'd put it up there. Seriously, he is absolutely phenomenal. And maybe against nearly any other team they win outside of the Penrith Panthers.
The Cronulla halves combined for 58 tackles.
Fucking hell. Blake Brayley made 68 tackles and missed 3.
A monster.
Like, that's why I almost feel sorry for the Sharkies, because against any other team outside of maybe the Panthers, they break them.
Mate, when you look at that tackle count from 5'8" to their bench, 29, 28, 32, 68, 25, 55, 43, 43, 38, 44.
Cam McInnes off the bench made 44 tackles and ran for 175 metres.
He is a maniac, isn't he? He is just...
Fuck.
He's missing a couple of screws. He is too tough for his own good.
He is absolutely incredible. And again, like, how the Dragons let go of this bloke is an absolute mystery. How could you ever not want this guy on your side? Like, there is not a single club in the entire comp that wouldn't have Cam McInnes in their starting side, like their starting 17.
Yeah, and just to make it worse, they obviously let Reece Robson go the year before, and Cam McInnes was their only 9. And people say he's in hindsight. At the time, I raged about it. It's such a dumb call.
I agree too. When they got rid of McInnes, I was also saying that was a bad decision. So this isn't hindsight. This guy's a clubman. This is a bloke you build clubs around. You build culture around. He's almost just the next Dale Finucane. That's who he is. I feel sorry for the Sharky side because this was a performance for the ages. It might be the best performance ever by a losing side. It seriously might be up like in a finals game.
And like for the first time in a number of weeks, the Sharks completed at 80%.
That's what I was going to say. And I've got it in my notes as well. They came out and completed essentially perfectly. And I'm like, this is scary.
Tell you what, I was nervous the first set when Ramey dropped the ball on third tackle. I thought, fuck, here we go.
Yeah, yep.
They're going to let the Cowboys into this. But then outside of that, I thought they were fantastic. They did, the thing was with the Sharkies, they didn't make a heap of errors, but when they did make errors, fuck, they were in key spots.
Yeah.
Coming out of their own end. And I think there was one, Toby Rudolph, a little bit later, Dale Finucane, he dropped one sort of in a try-scoring situation as well. So when they did make their mistake, and look, every mistake's a key mistake come finals, but they were really crucial mistakes they made throughout this game. There was a shot in extra time that Blake Brayley put on, I'm not sure which Cowboy it was, a perfect tackle to knock the ball out, just in the perfect spot, big moment like that. Yeah, I feel sorry for the Sharkies, and I'm not sure if they can
Can they back that up?
I don't know if they can, mate. They're the
Surely
one thing that falls in their favour is that they're playing South Sydney, who will be fucking exhausted as well.
Yeah, it's true.
Who will be without Tom Burgess as well, which is a massive loss. So,
But they're not. The thing, I guess the difference here is like, for how crazy that game was, it was just a bunch of head highs and Sid bins, and it was a grubby game. Both teams just fucking going at it. Whereas like this game was a 92-minute absolute war of attrition. And so I wonder, like, okay, Rabbitohs, we battered and bruised, but will they be fatigued like the Sharks?
I think it's a matter of Sharks being battered and bruised, and can the Bunnies possibly emotionally get up for a game again? Like they would have put so much into that game, and rightly so. It was a sudden death game. They had to. They had to go to that level to win that game. But I've got no idea what to expect out of Sharks South this week.
Because it's like, okay, let's say they come out and against all odds they beat the Rabbitohs. They've still got to go and play.
Mate, your reward is you get to play a fresh Penrith.
Fresh, angry Penrith.
Fuck.
It's just absolutely incredible. Their performances, like, I cannot express to you enough how incredible the performance of the Sharks and the Cowboys. I mean, Talakai, he ran for 237 metres. He had a try. Like 237 metres by any centre is good. We're not even talking about that. Mulatalo, 275 metres, 8 tackle breaks, and a try assist. What I loved about Mulatalo is he was getting lippy at the start, and sometimes you see a play get lippy and you're like, oh no, is his head going to be off and he's not going to be focused on the game and he's focused on getting under their skin? But he delivered. He backed it up. He was there in the mix, and he didn't take a backward step or not.
He's the sort of winger that you desperately want on your team.
Yeah.
God, he must be a pain in the ass to play against.
Oh, mate. Be a pest.
He's an absolute pest, because it's not like he just picks on his opposite winger. He'll come in and spray your front rower, then piss back off to his...
Anyone. And he backs it up.
Yeah.
Like Mulatalo, for me, from winger perspective, he might be the one of the most... I can't say improved because he's always been delivering, but you just don't hear him spoken about enough when you talk about the better wingers in the game. And I don't know whether, like we got To'o, you got Addo-Carr, you've got Corey Oates, Talangi.
And Tupu,
Suolitis. But like Mulatalo, I'll put him up there. I really put him up there.
But once again, if he was allowed to play Origin last year, it's a different story.
Yeah. He's just unassuming because he's like tall and kind of wiry. You don't see... He just like, you don't expect him to be as strong or as fast or footwork as good, but he has everything. Yeah. He has everything. He's good in the air. He's a good, great at taking the ball out of trouble. He can finish. He can get aggressive if you need to. Just what a game.
And like you talk about Talakai, Mulatalo, like unbelievable stats, very impressive. Like Jesse Ramian, who isn't even going to really feature because the other guys were so good. He ran for 170 metres at centre and 60 post contact.
Yeah. Crazy. Honestly.
He had 5 tackle breaks as well.
Yeah. It was an amazing game. Toby Rudolph, I felt this was a real coming of age for Toby Rudolph, and I don't mean coming of age as like condescending because he's a grown man, but I mean it really stamped I think he took the next step into that next echelon of front rowers. Now, look, is he Tarpane, Haas? Probably not, but is he the battler first grader that, if he has a few bad games, he might be put to the bench and then he might be out of first grade? No, he's not. He's actually, I think he's taken a step into, I am an NRL front row first grade and I'm an elite front row first grader.
And I think you've got to keep in mind too, his last game before this was round 22.
Yeah.
He spent a month out, he come back and he ran over the top of Taumalolo to score that try.
Yeah. And so I feel like coming into this year, a lot of people would have said like, fun guy, but I could see him, playing 4 or 5 poor games and fighting for his spot. As in, I think that will happen, but I could see it happening. Whereas I don't think many people would have said, he's going to get to a finals game and stamp his authority on a match by scoring an incredible try, but also becoming a key component of the second best team in the competition regards to the ladder.
And like I remember at the start of the year, like Hamlin Uele, he was by far and away their best front rower. Then he got injured. Mate, he hasn't been able to get back into this starting side because obviously Royce Hunt, he's another fantastic story this year. He's had a coming of age season, as has Toby Rudolph. And then it always shocks me. I get to jersey 15 every week and see Cam McInnes and go, how is he not starting in a first grade team?
Yeah.
I love the role he plays and he nails it. It's perfect, but it's like, what a luxury to have.
Yeah. It's just Wade Graham, I thought he was really good too. He did a lot of the tough stuff behind the scenes, like 43 tackles, 130 metres. It's just what a performance. What a seriously good performance. And how exciting of times is it for Sharkies? We're just getting started. This is a relatively young, outside of Moylan and Finucane, you're looking at a relatively young team.
For sure. There's so much more in this team over the next few years. They've obviously locked up a good coach as well, which we know how important that is. They've got their New South Wales Cup team takes on Canterbury this week for a spot in the grand final as well. The Newtown side, who's been going great guns. So all very, very positive signs for the Cronulla Sharks as a whole. Disappointing not to get the win there, but I feel like we're going to be talking about them a lot over the next few years. Mate.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's just getting started. I will say, Will Kennedy, in defence, he did struggle a little bit. I don't know whether that's because he's just still a bit hesitant on his injury. But he still had a good 2 tries, great support. And
that try, I think it was his second one where he ran that line off Nico Hines. Fuck, that was brave.
Yeah, bloody oath. Just his defence, I felt there was a couple of times, like the Dearden one was weird.
Odd, yeah.
And then there was another one where he kind of just, he missed 7 tackles as a fullback. And it's just so, in his defence, it's his first game back in 6 or 7 weeks. Look, the Sharkies, honest. In any other year, they're in a prelim. Seriously, I can't imagine another team that would have beaten this side on the night outside the Panthers or Cowboys.
Yeah, and you mentioned it before. Your completion rates. Cronulla was at 80, Cowboys are at 82. Is it fair to say if the Cowboys are probably at 78, Sharks win?
Yeah,
that's how close this game was.
Honestly, this game was a bounce of the ball.
Yeah,
it was literally the bounce of a ball. The difference between these 2 sides, is the bounce of a ball. So no shame in it at all. The key for the Sharkies is I would be making sure no one drinks any alcohol, and that's not because it's stopping them from partying or whatever. It's recovery. The key, it is finding the balance between keeping these guys hardened and mentally ready to go, but also allowing their bodies to recover. I don't know how they balance it. When do they play next?
Saturday night.
So they've got 8-day turnaround? Because they played Friday?
No, they played Saturday, so it's 7-day turnaround.
Oh, yeah, I remember because we watched Raiders Storm. I watched Raiders Storm, and I messaged you. I said, it's crazy. We've still got Cowboys And I couldn't. The Raiders Storm was good enough. I did not prepare for the fact that we would see in one of the most epic finals games we've seen. I'm honestly keeping them off their feet and putting them in all recovery mode, like ice baths, hot and colds, all that kind of stuff, for almost the first half of the week.
I think it's this week where for Feeder, Wade Graham, Finucane, these experienced guys come finals times, they pay for themselves this week.
Yeah, really important. The key, the only way they get the win next week is if they handle recovery perfectly. If they had any of the boys getting on the drink after, I'd almost... I wouldn't say they're not going to win, but it's not a good sign because it's about like what that says. It says like you just had one of the hardest games of your life. You've got to play next week. Do you need those extra beers? Like I know you've earned it. Bloody oath, you've earned it. And not to say that I saw anyone on that piss. I'm just saying that, for example, when we would go on like finals, heading into finals and we're playing really well, we would go on drinking bans. So we'd all agree, boys, we're not going to touch a lick of alcohol. And if we found out one of the players did, he would be fined. He may even be dropped. And so that's why it's not actually about the alcohol. It's about the commitment to a cause. And so if I'm the Sharkies, and it's already passed, but I'm hoping every single one of those boys was at home playing PS3 or PS5, whatever it is, relaxing and getting ready for the next week.
Could you imagine the training session Craig Fitzgibbon's going to put himself through next Saturday morning?
Jesus. Mate, he would have been... He's such a bloke. He would have been feeling guilty watching the boys tell each other. He probably went home and did 2 hours of jiu-jitsu just to bloody blow the cobwebs out. Now, gun to head. Sharkies, Rabbitohs.
Oh, shoot me. I don't know. I honestly don't know, mate. I have got no idea.
Yeah, I'm the same, bro. I've got the same.
I think Tom Burgess is a huge loss for South Sydney. Massive loss. But Cronulla, honestly, mate, like this game could be 20, 30-0 either way. I wouldn't be surprised. It could be 6-all. I've got no idea what to expect in this one. I'm probably leaning towards the Bunnies. But yeah, I really don't know.
I'm with you, bro. I have no read at all. Like, very rarely throughout the year do I seriously have zero read on how the next week's going to turn out. You know, for example, I picked the Cowboys to win. The Storm were in it. I picked them to win. Like, I picked Panthers to win. Like, I could get a feel for how it was going to. This truly, to me, I have no idea in my mind. I can't think of a thing. What do you reckon, Matty?
Oh, I mean, I'm the same. Like, if I had to take bias out of it, I'm the same. But I was just going to say, the odds for the game have only been out for 24 hours, and already both teams have been favourites, and it's been even money. So it's already changed 3 times.
So, I mean, that says it all. That says it all.
It's finals footy.
Oh, it's the best. It's the fucking best. Especially, I just think this year has delivered. I remember last year, and it was great. It was in really, really good times. Wasn't like this, in my opinion. No. Wasn't like this. We had blowout scores. Like, was it the Rabbitohs pumped Manly? Storm pumped Manly as well, didn't they?
Manly pumped the Roosters.
And then didn't Storm get convincingly beaten by someone? Who they get beaten by?
They got beat by Penrith in the prelim.
It just wasn't anywhere near this. Incredible stuff. So, look, Sharkies fans, how exciting! What an exciting time for the club. And again, the roster, Wade and Dale, I would actually argue Wade and Dale, like, when it comes to actual form on the field, it's not like they're relying on them to win games. It's all the off-field stuff. And so, like, they're going to be around for the next few years, which is all you need is their off-field stuff because it's clearly delivering. So incredible stuff by the Sharkies. Now, on to the Cowboys. Holy moly. The mental toughness of this side to hang in. I thought they were done with it. I think it was like 10 to go. I think I wrote Hines was the difference. And then they just find a way to get a try with basically a minute to go. And what I loved about this play, basically a tight block play. They usually, when the game's on the line, they try and spin it out to the winger and hopefully rip on the edge. Scott Drinkwater called the perfect play. Taumalolo out the back on a well-executed play. Even if you get the numbers right, he will most likely score. Now, Moylan turned in, but was it McInnes that chopped his legs?
Yeah.
And he's just managed to get across the line. Townsend, guess how many metres he kicked for? 785. And the amount of times where the pressure was on, even in, like, here's a good example of just having an experienced conservative 7 at times. It was extra time. There was about 3 to 4 minutes to go. And instead of going for the field goal, he kicks into the corner. And a lot of people, even I think the commentator said, I probably would have gone for the 1 or whatever. But in his mind, he's thinking, no, I'm going to trust our defence. If they want to enter the grind, we are going to grind all the way to the last second. And they did exactly that. Absolutely incredible performance by the Cowboys. Thoughts on the Cowboys?
Yeah, you mentioned that last play. Tamalolo scored, perfect play that Drinky called. And, if you've watched the Sharks this year, for me, I thought the obvious spot to target was at Matt Moylan. And fuck, didn't they target him? Matty Moylan made 29 and missed 10. Mm-hmm. So 39 times, almost 40 times he went into contact there. And you could see on that last play, they sent Nanai at him all game. And I have no doubt that Chad Townsend would have had a big say in that, obviously playing with Matty Moylan in the past. You could tell that Matt Moylan was just... He was so focused on making sure Nanai didn't get the better of him. Yeah. To his credit, he did pretty well against him the entire game, but just a perfectly picked play there by the Cowboys.
And the people they picked, they picked Nanai and Taumalolo. Yeah. Who do you choose? It was a mastermind play. Like, you could, they are 2 players where you have to stay on them. Incredible.
Crazy. And I think, Mate, Cam McInnes was so close to making that tackle.
I know.
Too.
I thought
if he would have got his left leg on the step before,
Yep.
it was done. He got him on the right leg, which just meant he could take that extra stride. If
on
he just,
Tamalolo. Now,
Yeah.
I want to hit you with a couple of stats. Reece Robson, 59 tackles, 0 missed. Ruben Cotter, 60 tackles, 1 missed.
without like taking away from that, it doesn't surprise me. That's just the two sort of footballers these two are.
Amazing.
They never get the raps. They really, obviously,
Cotter
Reece
does,
Robson's Cotter's been spoken about more now, but mate, I'd like. Yeah, they're just so impressive. They epitomise everything that is the North Queensland Cowboys.
Fuck. 59 tackles, 0 missed. 60 tackles, only 1 missed. Oh, that is amazing.
And look at the pack they're tackling too.
I know. It's not like that's like if you did that against one of the lower tier teams, you could say, oh, well, they're not that explosive or whatever. This is a gun pack, the second best team in the competition right now. What an incredible, like Todd Payton, whatever they did in that preseason, just copy it. Him and Fitzgibbon.
Yeah. I was thinking about the other day, like obviously Todd, he featured in that 2005 Tiger side that won the comp out of absolutely nowhere. Like he must be taking a lot of confidence out of that and a lot of his experience from like, what the Cowboys, and this isn't taking anything away from what the Cowboys have done, but I personally think that no matter what Todd Payton ever does, he will never have a crazier season than what he experienced in 2005. Like this might be, if they manage to win a comp this year, it'll be right up there with the Tigers. But his experiences from that year of just believing in what they're doing. Did you listen to his press conference after it by any chance? I saw they said something along the lines of like, do you believe you can win a comp? And he said, I thought we could win a comp in January. Why wouldn't I think we can win a fucking comp?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, mate, if he would have said that at the start of the season to media, he would have got absolutely...
He was under pressure to keep his job. Some people were saying he should get sacked.
Now they've got their first ever home prelim final in North Queensland to get into the grand final. It's incredible.
It is set up for them to make a GF. It's there.
If I was I would be incredibly disappointed if they're not in a grand final this year.
It's right there. They just 80 minutes of footy.
I'll be surprised if they're not there.
Because they either play Eels or Sharks.
Eels, Raiders.
Eels or Raiders.
But you have to drag either one of those teams up to North Queensland.
All the way up to North Queensland. And the Eels Raiders is going to be a bloodbath. Like those two forward packs are going to absolutely annihilate each other. Cowboys in a grand final? Holy shit.
And I mean, like, when you have a look through their history, like, what would that be? Their fourth grand final. They only came in 95.
Yeah, so you got
They went
2005.
05.
Then they went 2015, won it. 17.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bloody impressive.
Mate, it's I cannot put into words how incredible this performance was by the Cowboys. Scotty Drinkwater, 11 tackle breaks, 231 metres, a try assist. But the execution of that last play, like to say, give me the ball, I'm going to be the one to call the play, whether it's him or Chatty, but it was probably a mixture of both, to score the try, to even it up, to get us back into the game. Absolutely phenomenal.
And what this franchise has done as a whole, Thurston retires the end of 2018, and then Michael Morgan plays a couple of games here and there since then. That's losing two of your all-time greats of your club. Matt Scott as well, and then you look through the rest of that premiership winning side, who's left that run out on the weekend? Kyle Felt, is that it?
Tamalolo.
Kyle Felt and Tamalolo, yeah.
It's a complete rebuild. Complete rebuild.
And look at they've just pulled these guys from all over the place to fill this squad. It's crazy how they've managed to do it. And even some of the superstars they've bought, like Val Holmes, that I thought they played him out of position. Fuck, how wrong was I?
Mate. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Jason Taumalolo. That left to right cutout ball, left to right, let me be clear. Now, maybe he's a left-hander, but I don't know if he is, but the chances are he isn't. Left to right cutout ball to Peter Hiku to score his try was absolutely phenomenal. Who would have thought we'd see Taumalolo throwing left to right 20 to 30 metre cutout balls?
And it's not like he had a couple of seconds to sort it out too. He just got the ball and his instincts just kicked in. I know. Imagine being Talakai standing there as that ball's in the air.
Going, oh, shit.
Going, shit, I know I'm in trouble here. Yeah, Peter Hickey as well. Fuck, unbelievable game from him. What a signing he's been.
314 metres, 8 tackle breaks, a line break.
My God.
Like, Hamiso could barely get on. An Origin player could barely get on. That's how good this side is going.
Remember a year ago when Granville played fullback and centre and we thought, oh my God, he might be their best fullback and centre? The turnaround is unbelievable.
Oh, man. Tommy Dearden, line break for a try, 123 metres.
Try?
Yeah. Wow.
It's one of the best individual finals tries you'll see.
It's up there. It's just one of the great tries. Like, I don't know, like there'd be plenty more greater tries when you're talking about just individual big moments as a rookie. Doesn't get much better than that.
No.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Shout out to Nanai as well. We spoke about him all pre-season, the first 6 weeks. His defence was a worry. He played 93 minutes the other day. He made 45 and he missed 2.
Yeah.
There was games there when he was playing 50 minutes and missing 10 tackles at the start of the
year. It's just absolutely phenomenal performance. Do you think, could they win the comp?
Mate, I feel like my part-time job this spirit year has been underestimating the Cowboys. And maybe I'm about to do it again, but I don't know if anyone can beat Penrith. I really don't. Yeah. And I would have said the same thing to you about the Melbourne Storm this time last year. So anything can happen, but I don't know, especially knowing that the grand final is going to be down here in Sydney for Penrith. That's massive as well. I'd be surprised if it's not Penrith v Cowboys in the grand final, just based on how it's played out. In saying that, mate, like, I can't give you a reason why the Cowboys can't win it at the same time. They've got the fullback, they've got the 7, they've got the 6, they've got the stacked forward pack, they've got both their edges, they've got X factor.
Just takes one bad game.
100%,
Panthers could play a bad game.
They could, but I just find it so hard to fathom with this Panthers side. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And it's taken nothing away from the Cowboys. It's just that they have had this incredible season the same time as the Panthers. They might be at their peak right now.
Yeah, they're just so good. What's crazy as well about this performance of the Cowboys, Hamiso played 4 minutes and Neem played 7 minutes. So 2 of their bench players barely played.
In a 93-minute game, not an 80-minute game.
It is just absolutely phenomenal what these guys achieved. Felt had some really big plays. I thought he had some really big moments. Just trying to think outside of that. Great finish by Talangi. One negative is in the second half, the Cowboys were sitting at about 68% completion. So if I'm going to nitpick, I'd say there are periods where they could have kept that high completion rate up and not dropped down. But, I mean, there's really not much to nitpick about this game.
Shark Park's done that to better sides as well.
Oh, yeah,
That's what Shark Park does to you.
Dearden's defence, want to give him a rap. The amount of times that just the way he hits, he doesn't just let them, tackle and they can find their front. He hits to shot. And he's not a big bloke. He's really not a big bloke. He had some quite good plays in defence, but, yeah, the Cowboys absolutely amazing.
You made 33 tackles. No, sorry, Chad made 33. Dearden made 26. What about, and I could turn this game on its head, that kick that Chad Townsend put in, that Connor Tracy got sin bin off the back of? Could there have been a better kick for that moment?
So good.
So underappreciated. Get the ball, look up, summarise the entire field, see that space, and half, not chip it, but it wasn't just a straight grubber. He couldn't have got that more perfect. And Val, obviously he should have scored off the back of that, but that's submitting. That was a massive moment.
Oh, massive moment. Massive moment. Yeah, look, what else is there to say? Oh, another little moment for Hines. Coming out of their own end, they're struggling. Kicks across to bloody... Oh, my God. And there weren't even numbers there. He just kicked it. And
it wasn't on.
It wasn't even on, but it turned into on because it got him out of trouble. Just amazing. What an incredible game. So look, Hiku, Holmes, look, everyone. Yeah. There's not a single player there that I was like, oh, he didn't play that well. Every player, Leilua came on and ran for 161 metres. We're talking about how stoked would you be if you're Leilua right now?
Mate, imagine how his life has been turned upside down. There he is at Concord having a pre-season with the Tigers in all sorts. Coach changes halfway through the year. It's carnage. He's getting ready for he's getting ready for a prelim final.
Yeah, just amazing. Absolutely
and he
amazing.
skipped out on the North Queensland pre-season as well. He's the true winner out of all.
Yeah, he gets to reap the rewards without having to go through hell. Just joking. He would have working his ass off.
It's funny, when they signed Leilua, I remember thinking, fuck, he's just gone sideways from Tigers to Cowboys because he signed before the season.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just like, because that's actually, no, when he signed, weren't Tigers going better than the Cowboys?
Well, I think he signed in the preseason. So,
yeah, well, so the Cowboys finished
Pretty much
lower.
everyone was going better than the Cowboys.
The 15th. Yeah, look, what else? I'm not sure anything else to say on that game. It's really like, I'm just lost for words.
I mean, we haven't even really spoken about Val Holmes, the field goal. Like, not only was it, it was a 2-pointer. It's from.
He's the kind of player like, there's certain players that can live in the big moments and nail it. Latrell's one, Holmes is one. Obviously all the greats like Joey, Cam Smith's, like, you almost pay extra for those moments. Like Holmes, he does all the hard work for sure. But like, even if he had a game where he stats it down or he's not in the game, you can still rely on him to deliver something big in the big moments. Like, we have to remember, this is probably his second or third huge moment this year. Origin. Cleary, they're under the pump, kicks an incredibly low, hard dropout that by all means is going out. Guess who jumps out of the field, flicks it back in? It's Valentine Holmes. Game 1. They make a break, New South Wales. There's nowhere in QE. Holmes comes flying out of nowhere, regathers the ball on the fly and saves a try. This is all in one season. In every big game, he has had a game-defining moment.
And like, I think the part about this field goal that people haven't spoken about enough is that it's from 45 out. If he misses that, it's a 7-tackle set for the Sharks. They march up and they give Nico Hines an opportunity to win that game. Like, it took a lot of balls to take that shot from that far out. One, because it's a hard kick, but two, because you have to hit it as hard as you possibly can, which means you're going to put it dead, which means you're going to hand over a 7-tackle set. Val Holmes just...
And it wasn't like wasn't a not rushed kick as well. Like, they knew he was kicking. They were putting pressure on him. He just got really far back. And absolutely phenomenal. And he's just a superstar. Like, he, regardless of whether he's playing good or bad, he has superstar in him. It's just, he's still only 26 years old, I'm pretty sure. Could you check his age? He's still only 26. And hasn't he proven, like, there's a lot of people that, he's getting paid too much and, that he signed this big long-term deal. It was Paul Green, obviously, rest in peace, that made the right call to bring him in, and he's delivered.
He turned 27 a month ago.
27. Wow. He's still 27 years old.
There was a quote the other day that I saw somewhere on social media about him saying, like, when he was at the Sharks, he was just a young guy enjoying his footy, showing up. Prep probably wasn't as it should be. And he said he went over, obviously, to the New York Jets and saw the way that they do things and how they prepare, and just life-changing for him. Come back, and now from what I've heard as well, like, apparently his preparation up there is incredible, just top shelf. So congratulations to Val. He's copped quite a bit over the years, but credit to him.
Mate, amazing. Look, I thought he would transition back into fullback probably quicker than he did, but centre's his position. It's his position. He has been so consistent all year. Absolutely amazing moment. Just far out. He's just a superstar. He's just got that
There's
magic.
no other way to put it.
Yeah,
he's a superstar.
He's a superstar. There's no other way to put it. And still only 27 years old. He may be he's already won a premiership. He may be if they win the prelim, that's another grand final with a different club. And he had a huge hand to say it. He's won Origin Series. He's got records for scoring for Australia. Oh, amazing. Anything else?
Nah, great game of footy.
Great game of footy.
Best of luck to the Sharkies this week.
Oh, man. I want the Rabbitohs to go well, but I want the Sharkies to go well. I don't know what I want anymore because they've all earned it. You know what I mean? They've earned the right to play in the finals.
From just like our perspective, like, I think seeing that grand final replay next week would be unbelievable. South Penrith. I think that'd probably be the pinnacle of what we could get as far as leading up to it. I'll tell you what, the other one that is a possibility, and sort of going off track here a little bit, there's a world where we could get the Canberra Raiders and the Penrith Panthers in a grand final, which would be...
Holy.
That would be unbelievable if we get those two.
Mate, imagine the Milk made a grand final. Holy. Wow. Now, Roosters v the Rabbitohs. The craziest club game I can ever remember. I've never seen any club game like it. And it might just be the craziest game, period. Like, Origin Game 3 for me is probably the craziest game I've ever seen. But this game, 7 sin bins, blokes just absolutely all on the line. Everything. Their health, their physical well-being, like everything was on the line. The Rabbitohs get the win. This was an incredible game of rugby league, and it's one for the history books. It's one for the history books.
It feels like every year or so we have a game that you just go, that might have been the best ever, and then sometimes there's a bit of recency bias. Like, if you don't think this was the best game you've seen, I can't think of a crazier game.
Yeah.
It was just, there was a different turn every 5 or 10 minutes, and you kept seeing these stinks and everything, and you go, okay, it'll be done now. They'll start to play footy. Fucking 3 seconds later, someone comes out and coat hangers someone, or someone gets stuck into someone, or someone's charging in. And they all knew what was going to happen. They knew they were going to get sin bin, but it felt like both teams thought, fuck it, we'll be okay with 11. We'll be okay with 12. It's like there wasn't a game of football on for the vast majority of it.
Well, it's like both of them were saying, we will not take a step back. If you want to take it there, we will go there, and we'll be the ones to make the last move. It was absolutely incredible. From the opening, basically the opening sets, Victor Radley, bit of niggle into Tane Milne, then they get on the ground. Look, do I think Radley should have been sent 10 in the bin? Probably not. I think it was pretty soft. Was it really silly, though, from Radley? Yes, it was. It just wasn't a smart move to cock your fist. And even if it was a love tap. So we'll talk about the reffing first, because there has been a lot of conjecture around the refereeing and was it right, was it wrong? Look, I'd probably say there were 2 sin binnings that were a bit much. But outside of that, I struggle to find, what is he supposed to do?
I think there's been a lot said, and I keep hearing the quote, lost control of the game. Can you hold it against him? What the fuck?
Yeah.
What could he have done?
He tried everything.
If he sends someone off, the game's over.
Yeah.
The game finishes there.
It wouldn't have stopped him, though.
Exactly right.
Yeah, he did everything in his power to control the game.
Tell me it didn't make it a better game of football.
It was absolutely wild. Now, so the Radley one was a little bit soft, I think. I can understand why they did, because it's if you don't send him for 10, then the question is, okay, so now are we making judgments on the forcefulness of a punch? Because it was he barely, a little love tap. But I still think it was soft. I just think those kind of things, give him a warning, whatever. But the other one, the Totola one with the head push, I don't think that was a 10 in the bin. And then I think that Tom Burgess should have been sent 10 in the bin for the collection of Teddy.
Yes, which was a big one in the context of this game, obviously.
But outside of that, I don't know what else we wanted the ref to do. What else could he done in these situations? Just let blokes get head high, left, right and centre?
I thought that Totola one was crazy, because if Victor Radley doesn't run in, it's not even a penalty.
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
I think Radley even said that, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He said, Mike, he said, if this, you wouldn't even be talking, something along those lines. So, but in saying that, if you put it in the context of the game, and people are saying, well, he lost control of the game, it's that's a case of the ref trying to get control back, because he's saying, in the context of the game, you've pushed his head after everything that's gone on, you are kicking the game off again, so you're going for 10 in the bin.
Yep.
So I don't know. Again, those specific ones, I thought they were a bit soft, but in the context of the game, it's the Radley one, probably the worst of softness, because nothing else had happened by that point. Yes, it was silly by Radley for sure, but outside of that, I just don't know what you wanted the ref to do. It would have been carnage if you didn't send people for 10.
All things considered for how this game played out, I personally don't think the ref decided this game, which I thought was an incredibly good effort by him.
The best team won.
By far and away. They had more sin bins than the Sydney Roosters. To Roosters fans' credit, I think the thing that decided it more was obviously the Roosters' injuries. I think South Sydney were the better team, though. But if you're putting this game on the ref, I'm sorry, you're fucking kidding yourself.
Yeah, no. You can disagree with a few calls, like, I mean, look, you can do whatever you want. It's your opinion. Respect that for sure. The best team won that had the more sin bins, so that takes it out. And again, I just don't know what you expected the ref to do. Was he supposed to allow these head highs to continue? I don't know. And this is coming from a guy that I feel like we're too liberal with sin bins.
Yeah.
I just don't know what you expected him to do. It was absolute carnage. And the best thing to come out of the game is the best team won. Now, if the worst team had have won, I think then you could start going, well, hang on a sec. I know there was some headline grabs from the press conferences, but if you watch the press conferences, the one with Robbo, he's kind of been not unfairly quoted because he said what he said, but basically he didn't come out and just say, people are saying my players lied down. A journalist specifically asked, there were cases where it looked like the players may have laid down, and Robbo was basically saying, don't say Roosters because I don't believe that's true. So it wasn't like he just came out and was sooking about it. Matter of fact, I actually really respect the way Robbo handled the press conference. I even messaged you. It's going to be real interesting to see what Robbo says because I thought he was going to come out and be very critical of the Tedesco head high.
Which, if he did come in, because obviously they weren't able to activate Adam Kieran because of that. And in my opinion, Tom Burgess should have got Simbin for that shot.
Yep.
He didn't. Instead, when he had his next fuck up, which he obviously had a fair whack because he was going off his head, they took advantage of that to make up for the mistake of not Simbining the first time. But that meant they couldn't activate Adam Kieran.
And so if you go and watch the press conference, Robbo, I thought he handled it absolutely fantastic. Again, I was expecting him to come in and be quite livid with the situation just because of the emotion of the whole game. But he was pretty honest, and he was relatively similar to Demetrio, where they said, look, we both played a part in it. We both took it to a space where we should have controlled ourselves. We should have been a bit more conservative. I think Robbo deserved, and Robbo was almost like, tried to lead him in to speak about the Rabbitohs, and he literally just said, I have no opinion on any of the Rabbitohs stuff. And I said, you know what, respect for that.
Yeah, it's not his first rodeo.
Yeah, it's not his first rodeo, but very easy. The emotion, you could feel, I'm at home, and I could feel the emotion of the game. Imagine being there. It would be palpable. It would be palpable. So respect for to Robbo, I think, for how he handled it. Demetrio as well. Look, I in regards to his comments on Hargreaves, it was a head slam. So of course you're going to defend your player and say it's not good. But outside of that, what an incredible display of, I don't even know what the word is.
And I wouldn't change a single bit of that game.
Neither. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And I probably, I thought it was stupid of Radley to, get his fist like that at the start of the game. And it was, as we said before we started recording, Victor Radley would be filthy that he's not allowed to throw punches, and that's the punch he gets sent off.
You're going to do it.
If you're going to do it, you want to whack someone. But I wouldn't change it. It was unreal. Both teams played better when they had less on the field.
I know.
What about when Latrell scored with 11 players, V13?
The Rabbitohs had 11 players for 20 minutes.
Yeah, don't tell me the better team didn't win.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Okay, we'll get into details now. We'll talk about Roosters first. Look, it just shows you how important Tedesco is. As soon as he went off, I was like, I thought they could pull it together, and I thought, it's going to be interesting to see how Suoli'i handles this. And Suoli'i's running game was really strong, and he looked dangerous, but I think it's really, really clear he's got a couple of years before he's prepared for a fullback role. His ball playing isn't where it should be to be, first grade fullback. He's a teenager. That's, of course, 18 years old. What are we talking about here? 18, 19 years old. But we have to remember, this is an 18-year-old. Is it 18? He's 18? Or 19? Just check. 18 or 19-year-old in the first final games of his career, I'm pretty sure. And he mixed it with him.
100%.
Mixed it with him.
And, I personally thought when he was playing fullback, considering he hasn't trained there, he hasn't played there before in the first grade arena, and to do it in this game, in front of that crowd, with their season on the line, obviously the passing game, he's got a lot of work to do there, but as you said, he's a teenager. So he should have a bit of work.
19. He turned 19 in August.
Yep.
Yeah. Crazy.
19 years old.
I'm going to look at him like he's 18 for the next 3 years. I reckon.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. But, he's obviously got a lot more to grow in his game, as he should. But, geez, when he was at fullback and when he was just coming around on those shapes, fuck, he did look natural there.
He looked dangerous. Like, you're getting scared, like, oh, shit,
Like
there's a
you were
line
just
break
waiting
here.
for him to actually zing one of those passes because he looks like he can just do it all. It's going to take time, but...
When he does learn it, ooh, look out.
And you might have felt like, I'm not sure if he doesn't have it or if he maybe was just a little bit nervous yesterday. You can understand that as well. But, yeah, I mean, the injuries for the Roosters were huge. There's no doubt about it. I also think in the context of the game, not having Manu was massive.
Yeah.
If they could have shifted him back there,
Yeah, it's true.
fuck, we would have had a game on our hands. But that happens to you sometimes. You have injuries. It was just unfortunate. The guys that got injured for the Roosters, how important they were. I thought it was a miracle they kept Takiaho.
Yeah, that was a miracle. Last game. Whatever, yeah. But Teddy going off, I mean, if you ever wanted, like, I've made so many posts about Teddy being one of the greatest big game players ever. If you ever wanted evidence to how important he is to big games, that's like, he's right there. It's right there. Go and watch yesterday's game. As soon as the Tedesco went off, yes, they had moments and patches, but they were nowhere near the side that they were before Teddy went off. And like you might say, well, that's obvious, but it's just the consistency in his big games. Every single big game, he kills it. He absolutely kills it.
He played 18 minutes of football. He ran for 124 metres.
Oh, fuck.
35 post contact, 3 tackle breaks. I mean,
He would have ran for like 400 metres.
yeah. Like going on those numbers, that's what he was heading to.
Incredible.
And knowing Teddy, he wouldn't have slowed down.
Nah.
It's not like
way.
he goes big at the start, then he puts his feet up. He goes harder at the back end.
Yeah, incredible. Outside of that with the Roosters, look, completion rate was a little bit down, 72%, but not the be-all and end-all. I mean, not the best, but I thought Lodge's first 20 specifically was phenomenal. Like, he's... The momentum he gets that Roosters forward pack is truly just amazing. Now, he's come out and said he'd love to stay, but at the moment they've got salary cap, probably won't be able to afford him.
They've got to make it work, I think.
I
don't know how they do it, but...
I think for Lodge's benefit as well, like I don't think he should want to be going anywhere else because clearly this is where he belongs. Clearly there's something about the Roosters that gets the best out of Matt Lodge because he fucking been phenomenal these last few weeks.
Yeah, I'm still not ruling out him ending up at the Dolphins with Wayne. But I think it has to be here at the Roosters or at Wayne. One of the two, I think that's where he has. If he ends up anywhere else, I don't think we'll see the best out of Lodge over the next few years.
Yeah, because he's been just so important to them.
How old's Matt Lodge? Was he 27, 28? Have a look.
Crichton, he had a mixed bag. He had a couple of errors, and then obviously he tried to put that hit on and got knocked out. But I thought he was also a big out for them because, he last week was crucial. He was the one that was putting all those short lines on Ilias and scoring tries.
27.
Outside of that, I mean, what else is... Look, I thought Drew Hutchison had some pretty good moments. Losing Tupou was a massive loss. Look, like the specific players they lost, like if you're telling me a team's going to lose someone like Crichton, Tupou and Tedesco, like far out, and you've already lost Manu.
Yeah.
Very tough.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to take it into consideration. I can't stress enough, though, I thought South Sydney were the better team, and I'm not taking anything away from the Bunnies. But any team that loses those sort of players is going to be very, very tough, especially when you lose your fullback and your winger, when you've already got your star centre out. It's a very, very tough gig to face. You move a teenager to fullback. Not taking anything away from South Sydney, but you have to take it all into consideration there.
Now, with the Roosters, how do we feel about them going into next year?
Yeah,
I'm unsure because, like, when they had all their if they had all their players on that first 20, they looked unstoppable. But I don't know because for a lot of the year they were so up and down. I'm just a bit unsure where put it this way: at the end of last year, a lot of people said these guys are a premiership favourite. Look what they did without all their players. Now, at the end of this year, is there as much hype, do you think, as there was last year?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. Who are they going to lose? They'll lose Verrills, but they'll get Cheese. They'll lose Takiaho. Is that it? Lodge, potentially, whether he stays or not.
Yeah, Lodge.
I think whether Matt Lodge stays or not will go a long way to deciding the answer to that question. Who do you feel is more likely to win a comp next year, Roosters or Melbourne? I'm probably leaning towards the Chooks, personally.
Melbourne probably. Just the Pappenhausen, Munster, Hughes combination.
Even with the entire pack going?
Yeah, I don't know. I just that Grant, Hughes, Munster, Pappenhausen. It's so crazy. Remus Smith, Jennings comes back.
Cheese, Keary.
Yeah, chooses.
Teddy.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Storm, but it's a toss of a coin. It really is. Man, how weird is it going to be seeing Cheese in a Roosters jersey?
Yeah,
but he's going to thrive.
Bizarre. He's going to thrive. Yeah, I'll tell you what. If Lodge doesn't re-sign, I'd be tempted to go out and find a hooker. I know Cheese wants to play there, but I still think he's a better middle forward than he is a 9. It'll be interesting to see how it all does play out. But then, I don't know.
Where do you put the rest, like Butcher, Bradley,
that's
Crichton?
the issue. And you got Rad, so you got to have it 13. So it becomes hard to fit Cheese in if you're not playing him at 9. He also wants to play 9. So I think with a player like him, you're better off playing him where he wants to play, where he thinks.
I think if he has a full preseason at 9 and has his body prepared for playing 9, I think you'll see even better out of him.
I think he's got to have a big off season as far as his service goes too, though.
Yeah, for sure. Takiaho off the bench was absolutely gigantic. But look, this game was a mixture of the Rabbitohs magic, which we'll get to, but also just key injuries. When you got no bench, essentially, it's hard to say because then you go, well, hang on a sec. The Rabbitohs played 20 minutes with 11 men. Surely get the job done then. But, Roosters out first week. We'll see what happens next year, I guess. Just
before we move off them, what about that ball that Sam Walker threw when he got in a dummy half and saw the advantage and threw that cutout ball to Daniel Tupou?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck. Just to be able to see it is impressive. To have the confidence to actually throw that ball.
Yeah.
You saw a little bit later in the game, Luke Keary threw a cutout ball to Nguama and it just fell short of him. I was thinking the other day, you see him throw these balls all the time, Sam Walker. When do you ever see him throw it short? When do you ever see him throw it over the sideline?
Yeah, it's pretty rare. There were a couple of times at the start of his career, but he usually nails it these days.
Mate, that's the first time I've seen Keary throw a ball like that in a long time, and he felt 2 or 3 metres short on that pass. Sam Walker, one thing I'll say, he never falls short. If he's going to miss it, he'll go over, which is what especially if you're throwing to Daniel Tupou, he'll catch it anywhere.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was such a good ball, especially out of dummy half, not a normal spot where he's used to getting the ball. I thought it was a great little play there.
Do we think, we talked about kicking and having a long kicking game. Now, it wasn't a bad by Walker by any stretch of the imagination, but it was 342 and then 125 for Keary. Do you think they lack a bit of a long kicking game?
Yeah, and I was a little bit surprised they didn't use Hutcho a little bit more the other day for their long kicking. I similar to how the New South Wales Blues were using Matt Burton for his left foot down that edge. I would have done the same with Hutcho a little bit. It is a worry. Sam Walker, his long kicking game, he's obviously got a bit more growing and whatnot in him over the next few years, but his long kicking game does worry me. And Luke Keary's not overly noted for long kicking game. And it is so important when you get down to finals footy. It is a worry for me, and I wouldn't be relying on Brandon Smith out of 9 either.
No, I don't think so. Look, I think Roosters, everything that could go wrong kind of did go wrong. Key players either being sin-binned, either being injured. It was almost an impossible feat. Just too many. You're not going to win a game of footy. And that's taking nothing away from Rabbitohs because, as we said, there was 20 minutes where the Rabbitohs were playing with 11 men.
Yep.
I just think in the key moments, the Rabbitohs executed. That was yes, the injuries played a factor, but there were still quality players on the field that could have executed for the Roosters. And the Rabbitohs, in the key moments, they absolutely executed. So we'll get on to the Rabbitohs now. Oh, man, what an incredible performance. We spoke about it last week where I was like, you can't count the Rabbitohs out because they have this magic and you can't measure it. You can't touch it. You don't know how. It's just this intangible quality where they'll just rock up and do something special. And it's guys like Latrell and Cody Walker that do it. Like you look at Latrell's stats, 78 run meters, 6 tackle breaks and a try. But watch that game and tell me he didn't pull off some absolutely incredible plays and moments.
Yeah, Cooper Cronk made a really good point last night. He read out Latrell's stats and said, based on that, him being a fullback in 2022, the Roosters should have won this game. They were so far from the better team, it's not even funny. Yeah. He is just, I know we've said it a lot, and for whatever reason, it still doesn't seem to be getting through people's heads. He's not the fullback you expect him to be. He's not the fullback you want him to be. He's not the fullback that you compare his stats to Turbo, Teddy, all these guys. He's a red zone fullback. And when you get him in the red zone, he will deliver every single time.
Yeah, he's like his percentage of delivering is just off the charts. It's seriously, it's almost like, what do you reckon? 9 times out of 10, when he has a big play to make, he makes it.
Yep.
You know, 8 or 9 times. We'll say 8 times to be generous. But he was amazing. Cody Walker, been a relatively quiet year for Cody Walker. Comes out in an incredible finals footy, has 4 try assists. 4 try assists.
Mate, I reckon that ball that he threw to Tass, I don't know, maybe I'm being over the top. That's one of my favourite passes of the season.
It's a beautiful ball.
Just to play through the line and let defenders shoot up and just pick his moments between, there's something special when you throw a ball like that. Like throwing a spiral is nice, but when you flick it the way that he does, and it just like Lockie used to do that all the time, and it would just glide through the air. It's such a good ball. He's a freak, Cody Walker. Absolute freak.
He's just his ability to just find little gaps where they don't exist for other people is just amazing.
The way that he plays slow and he holds the ball for so long that he waits until defenders fuck up, and then he plays off the back of that, which is, it sounds easy, but with the pace that the game moves at, and he just does everything in slow motion, seemingly waiting for you to bite. Yeah, he's a freak. I love watching Cody Walker play.
Alex Johnston becomes the first ever player to score 30 tries in back-to-back seasons. In this game as well.
Is he the first guy to ever score 2 seasons with 30 tries? Or
I don't know. It just says back-to-back.
But I think he's also the first to do it.
Channel 9 did post that, yeah.
But to do it back-to-back is unbelievable. 60 tries in 2 years.
It's amazing. It's seriously amazing. In a side that, okay, they made the grand final last year, but at the start of this run, it's not like they were in the same breath as like Roosters, Storm, Panthers. Like they were the kind of the dark horse. I mean, for a period there last year under Wayne, they were on the edge of the 8.
And he's also done it in a team this year. Like the theme for this year has been, if you lose a halfback, you suck.
Yeah.
South Sydney lose their 7, who, I think he was the most underrated bit of every single try that AJ scored last year, essentially. And he still manages to score that many. Yeah. It's crazy. They didn't even finish in the top 4 this year.
Yeah, they literally, the second last game of the year confirmed them in the 8. They in the 8. Amazing. I want to give a shout out to Lockie Ilias. I think people need to realise he's not going to be a million try assists. He's not going to be Sam Walker. He's not going to be this guy that has all these crazy plays. But I tell you what he's going to do. He's going to kick all day long and deep, 520 metres kicked in this big game. He's going to defend his absolute arse off. I thought his defence was so much better in this game compared to last week. And maybe that had something to do with the fact that Crichton went off. But I will say, even before Crichton went off, they were going back and forth at each other talking. So clearly, he's made a point of not allowing what happened in the week before to happen again. I think it is pass marks, easy pass marks for Lockie Ilias this year. Even if they lose next week, easy pass marks.
100%. Stepping into some of the biggest shoes in rugby league. He's done a tremendous job. And I think you're right. I think that social media, even like your super coach and your fantasy, expects your halfbacks to have all these stats every single week. It's not what indicates whether you're a good halfback or not. Does it help? 100%. But that doesn't indicate.
Look at Chad Townsend's stats.
Exactly right. Cooper Cronk throughout his entire career. Coopers were never that impressive. But he wins. He gets his team to when it matters. Just on Alex Johnson, I know he moved off him, but 30 tries this season. He scored 2 in the first 5 weeks.
Oh, fuck. It just doesn't make sense, Guru.
Yeah, 2
Makes
in
no
the first
sense.
5 weeks, which is... And, mate, but at the end of week 7, he'd only scored 5. So, like...
Yeah. And another thing as well, and I'm sure the Rabbitohs fan do, this bloke took a pay cut to stay at this club. So appreciate him while he's here. He took a pay cut because he gave a note to Wayne Bennett saying, this is the only club I've ever wanted paid for. Is that correct? This is how much this bloke loves the club. And he is most likely going to be the best try scorer of all time. And I know Rabbitohs fans appreciate him, but, you know, we often talk about players that they're greedy and they leave for all this money and rah-rah. Here's a bloke that bleeds this club, bleeds it. He was going to get let go. The club were going to let him go, and it was his forceful nature and his loyalty that kept him at the club. And now he is breaking records.
And since then, he's scored 83 tries in 3 years.
I remember at the start of last year when people started to throw up this Ken Irvine thing, and I just sat there and went, are you fucking for real?
So
how
hard.
is he possibly going to catch Ken Irvine? What, do you think he's going to get through the next 8 years of his career without being injured, without going to the Super League, without any of these things? You honestly think he's going to average 15 tries for the rest of his season? He's doubled it.
He's averaging 30.
Averaging 30.
How many tries
The
until
season's not
Irvine?
over yet.
Yeah.
He's on 166 now, so that's 50, less than 50.
So if he keeps this up, he'll break it in 2 years.
2024, he'll get it.
He'll break it in a season and a half.
So it's basically like, I mean, I don't want to put the mock on it, but it's basically done. 50 tries.
Don't put the mocker on it.
He's 5 years. He's got at least another 5 to 7 years of rugby league because he's still 25, isn't he?
He's young.
He's 27, yeah.
He's 27. Okay, but yeah, not touching wood, and this is real wood.
But still, like now he's at the point where if he can average 15 tries a season for the next, 3? Like, he'll get there.
Incredible, like just amazing, absolutely amazing.
And like my other worry was that Cody Walker would eventually retire. Latrell Mitchell's now one of the best players going down the left edge in rugby league.
And he's got the most line break assists of any player in the comp. Just quickly to go back to the Cowboys, guess what else Valentine Holmes has done this year? He's broken Thurston's record for points in a season.
Yeah, wow.
That is absolutely incredible. Incredible. And just confirm that for me, but I'm pretty sure he did.
Is he heading for a top point scorer this season?
Yeah, he's way at the
Well
top.
and truly, yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure. 2015, I think Thurston had it, or maybe 2014. Anyway, 2014, I think Thurston had it.
One of his 15 Dally M winning
Yeah,
seasons.
jeez. But yeah, so Lockie Ilias flying past marks this year, incredible.
I also thought for him, like last week, Angus Crichton ran over him a couple of times, and it wasn't like Ilias got caught out of position or his tackling technique was poor.
Crichton's
Angus
just a
was
beast.
just too big.
Yeah.
Like I know people are like, oh, Ilias has got to sort his shit out. It's like, sort what out? Like he didn't defend badly.
Yeah, it's like this is missed tackles happen.
Yeah.
It's like you can only do so much. That like if he was big enough to tackle Crichton, he wouldn't be a good halfback because he's you know what I mean.
Yeah,
he'd be a forward.
And if it's when you're giving away that many kilos and Luke Keary isolates you that well. But mate, I thought Ilias's defence yesterday was unbelievable. He was whacking people.
Yeah, it was outstanding.
And I sort of thought, oh fuck, Coleman Tungi's going to have to help him so much. He's going to have to be a bodyguard. And it was like Ilias said, get lost.
Yeah,
I can hold myself here. I'll be fine.
Val needs one more point.
He needs one more point.
Yeah. So 234 was JT in 2015 is what I'm reading here. And then this has got 224 for Val, but it's not updated. So, and he scored 10 points.
So we'll get it, unless they get held to 0.
Yeah.
Because he's just got to convert it. Touch wood.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay. Lockie Ilias. You know what? When I realised that Lockie Ilias will have a good career is when he got dropped.
Sorry, I was wrong. He's already broken it.
He's already broken it.
Yeah. I miscounted the field goal.
Wow. Lockie Ilias, like, he gets dropped. It's a huge deal. It's the biggest story of the week. If you came and just watched that next game, you would have no idea that happened.
No idea at all.
You would have no clue that big drama happened. So that's when I knew this guy, he's made of the right stuff mentally. Again, you look at the game on the weekend, had some poor defensive misses the week before, comes out the next week and jams blokes, like in a big game.
Yep.
That's the right mental stuff to be made of. Now, I want to talk about Campbell Graham. He was absolutely incredible, and I honestly think he was probably best on ground for me. And that sounds hyperbolic. Go back and watch the game and tell me he wasn't Rabbitohs' best.
Yeah, and when you look at his stat sheet, 158 metres, it's good, but it's not like Sivitalico, these sort of guys. But if you go back and watch the game and watch, he earned every centimetre.
And his defence too. Like 18 tackles, 4 misses, you'd go, oh, it's not. Go back and actually watch the game and watch the aggression in which he was playing with. I thought Campbell Graham was absolutely phenomenal. And I personally think you've obviously got Whiten and Burton that will take those centre spots if Latrell and Tommy aren't there in Origin. But when it comes to specialist centres, I think he's next in line. Now, I know Whiten and Burton will be there, but when it comes to specialist centres, I think he has to be the next in line for Origin New South Wales centre spot. Yeah,
he's a real pure centre, Campbell Graham, and I agree with you, mate. I think he probably has to be the next man up. And I mean, fuck, if there's an injury on the wing and Freddie picks him there, I'd be more than happy to see him play out on the sting too. He can do it all, Campbell Graham. And obviously you've seen the hole that Dane Gagai left when he left the Rabbitohs. Imagine if Campbell Graham wasn't there.
Mate, disaster. If Campbell Graham, put it this way, if Campbell Graham wasn't there this year, I don't even think they made the 8.
Mate, I don't know. Is it over the top to say the gap that Campbell Graham could leave might have been bigger than Gagai?
I think he might have to play a little bit longer, but...
Yeah, but, mate, the performances he's put in the last 2 years, Campbell Graham, I think he's been so fucking important to this side.
He's so important. I mean, you saw on the weekend, like, just the amount of big, tough carries he took. And he's not running it. He's running at front rowers that are trying to shot him.
Yep.
And he was somehow finding his front every single time. And just the aggression that he played with. Like, again, don't go off the stat sheet, guys. If you get a chance and you want to watch the game again, just focus on Campbell Graham and see the work he gets through. It was absolutely phenomenal. Guess who was the bloke that hit Matt Lodge and stopped him on the first run off the kickoff?
Yep. Campbell Graham.
It was a centre, Campbell Graham. Matt Lodge is a giant. Amazing performance by Campbell Graham, and I think it would be an absolute travesty if he doesn't at least play one game for New South Wales. Now, I understand it's a stacked position, but I just think that he is such a good player. He's only going to get better. He's, 24, 25, maybe even 23.
Yeah, I think he's younger than that. Yeah.
He might even be 22 then. I think he's 23 years old.
He's already played 100 first-grade games, which is
amazing.
Crazy.
Amazing. And didn't he debut at like 17, 18?
He was young.
Yeah,
young
18 at the SCG, yeah.
Like, I'm just such a fan of him. He's so unassuming too. Gets about his work. He's tough as anything. Big plays. And he's delivered. Every time that they've had big games with Rabbitohs, Campbell Graham delivers.
He always stands up.
He always does. So I would love to, I understand like it's going to be hard, but I'd love to see him in the New South Wales jersey over the next few years. Another bloke, or another few blokes.
Sorry, just on before we move on, Campbell Graham, he's played 108 first grade games. He's scored 48 tries. He's almost at 50 tries and he's 22, 3?
Not bad.
Like you think about some of the great players, that the back end of their career, they hit 100 tries.
Yeah. He's at 23.
He's already halfway there.
And he's a centre too, which is usually score less.
And he missed a fair whack of footy this year, didn't he?
Broke his cheekbone.
That's another thing. He broke his cheekbone and he's still playing like the toughest bloke on the field.
Still taking on front row.
Yeah, amazing. I want to give the forward pack, especially the back row of the Rabbitohs, a massive congratulations. Keon, Jai Arrow, Cam Murray. Jai Arrow, I don't know if he gets the appreciation he deserves. His aggression in defence is so key to them. Cam Murray, seriously, sign the bloke for 10 years, because without Cam Murray in the middle ball playing, they're just...
Well, you saw it last week.
They are not the same side, not even close to the same side.
And I think that like he doesn't have the obvious ball playing skills of like a Radley and Isaiah Yeo, but once again, when you take him out of the team and you see the Bunnies without him, it's evident just how good he is and how important he is to that side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why all of a sudden Cody Walker has 4 try assists. Because guess who was the guy passing to him usually? It was Cody Murray. Cameron Murray.
Geez, wouldn't you have a player there?
Oh, mate. Unbelievable. Jai Arrow. Oh, man, he was just the perfect bloke for this game. You needed a mongrel in there that just loves it, that absolutely loves it. Didn't take a backward step. Keon as well. He's so consistent now, Keon.
Yeah.
So consistent.
I'll tell you the other one that I thought was really impressive for South Sydney. I thought it was a bit of a coming-of-age sort of game. Harm Sele.
Yeah. 23 minutes, 88 metres in that game.
I think he's one of those guys that, like, the stats are good, but I think when you just see the impacts he had, if you go back and watch his 23 minutes again, like he just came on. He did not take any shit. He didn't take a backward step. He got released from the Dragons, I think, a year or two ago.
Well, I mean, to put it into context, Tom Burgess 24 minutes. He had 98 metres and had 10 tackles. Hame Sele 23 minutes. He had 88 metres, 13 tackles. So he essentially did the same as Tom Burgess.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, he was at the Dragons a couple of years ago, and they released him. Fuck, wouldn't he just be the perfect sort of guy for them to have in their pack?
That's when you look at these lower tier teams and you see these guys being released and going on to play really well. You know, as a club, you have to take some kind of go, well, how come they didn't reach the potential here? Like, what do we need to improve to make sure that if we do release a player, at least we know we got the best out of them. And look, it goes two ways. It's a two-way street. Sometimes it's just a player that refuses to listen or isn't as dedicated and all that kind of stuff. But in an absolutely amazing game of rugby league. What a privilege to watch. Another guy we didn't shout out, Tass. He was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Here's a guy, he came in and we had big raps on him at the start of the year. And at the start of the year, we said he definitely should have that spot over, anyone else in that 3 position. He came in, had some really good attack, but had some errors in him. He comes out this week, no errors, a try and a try assist. 139 metres, 14 tackles, only 1 miss.
It's a really good story, isn't he?
Oh,
just about hanging in there, finally got his opportunity. Didn't go perfectly to plan, but he's just improved week on week. And mate, to find yourself as the guy that they want at left centre, it's a great compliment to him.
And he's still relatively young. Wouldn't say he's that old. He was in Q Cup last year. How's a bloke like this sitting in Q Cup and not snapped up by a club?
He's only 23. He's got plenty ahead.
Plenty of footy. I mean, think about it. Again, the Rabbitohs, exciting times. Both your centres are 23.
And he's another one that he came down into the Canterbury Bulldogs system and fell out the back of it. Now at South Sydney, doing very well.
Latrell Mitchell, he's still only 25. Like, that's wild to think. Feels like, honestly, Latrell feels like he's been around for 15 years.
Forever.
Really, really touching, special moment. Latrell after the game, getting cheered by the Rabbitohs fans after they'd won the match. Because it's, regardless of what you say, it's got to be tough as a player. Like, I understand the stuff that happened with Joey and he went to a rival club, and that's fair enough. You should have a right to get into the game and boo players or whatever, because that's a part of what you want to be passionate. You want to be tribal. But it still doesn't take away from the fact it would rattle you. Like, imagine running out, getting booed by 40,000 people. You'd be rattled.
As a 25-year-old too.
Yeah. And so for the Rabbitohs fans to show how much they love him and care about him, that was really, really cool to see. Really, really good to see. And he earned it. And
that's the whole thing with Latrell. Like, I see people getting upset about it. He celebrates after goal kicks and the way he talks and everything. Like, he backs it up.
Also, like, hang on a sec. So everyone's allowed to boo him, but he's not allowed to say anything back.
Yeah.
So he's allowed to get booed by 40,000 people, but he's not allowed to be like, fuck you back.
I mean, here we are, you got teams that lose games and then they stand on the field and they laugh and they joke with the other players and all fans blow up. They don't care about the game. Find me a player that shows they care more about rugby league than Latrell fucking Mitchell and you want to get stuck into him?
Yeah.
Please.
Bizarre. And another thing is like, he always talks shit. It's like, he doesn't just talk shit to randomly to someone. He's responding to people in the crowd. Like, every single player gets shit talk about them by fans, which is, it's par for the course. Like, you just don't hear it because it's like, you're getting yelled at from the sideline. They're not going to pick it up on the network. So, I thought that was a really special moment. But Rabbitohs. Now, can you see the Rabbitohs in the grand final?
No, only because they're on the Penrith Panthers side. I think if they were on the other side, I think they could give it a really good shake. But being on the Panthers side, I'll be honest with you, mate, I can't see a different grand final than Panthers Cowboys.
Wow. So you've got next week we've got Eels Raiders.
Yep.
Rabbitohs.
Sharkies.
Far out. So who have you got Eels Raiders?
Mate, I'm kind of leaning towards the Raiders, to be honest with you.
Really?
I can feel an upset.
Who you got? Eels Raiders.
I got Para in the GF actually. I think
They'll
Para
bounce back.
I reckon they'll bounce back, and I mean the prelim then would be great, but yeah, I reckon Para.
I reckon Eels beat Raiders. Who have you got? Sharks, Rabbitohs.
I'm going to lean to the Bunnies.
Obviously, Rabbits, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I am going to go. I'll just go Sharks. You went Rabbitohs.
I'm so far from confident.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I'm unsure on the Sharks. I don't know where I stand on them, because at the end of the day, even though it was incredible what they did get beaten at home.
Yep.
But it's amazing. Yeah, I'm going to go. I'll just go Sharks to make it a bit fun. Anyway, that's episode done and dusted. Make sure to grab a Rugby League Guru shirt at rugbyleagueguru.com.au. They've got hats, and there's limited amount. So once they're gone skis.
Gone skis.
So make sure rugbyleagueguru.com.au, grab a shirt, support the great guru. If you sat hours, how many hours of content have been delivered this year? I reckon, a lot. If you enjoyed it at all, grab a shirt. It's the best way to support the great Gurino. Anything else, boys?
Done.
Views and break-evens is on this week? Oh, no.
No, there is actually. We've got an episode coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Bit of a review of 4 of the teams. Can't remember which 4 they are off the dome, but there is something coming.
Okay. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.